Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning on this lovely Friday. At the very least, it is lovely where I'm at. And to answer the question, yes, we are live now, which is the first thing that JetSparks373 wonder. We're a little bit behind, but sometimes it be like that. That's Friday for you. But I'm not alone here. Helping me out behind the scenes is our good friend Culture Casino. Greetings. How are you this Friday?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited. I like to talk about sea change, and we have plenty of it, so I'm excited for today's show.
Yes, indeed. I mean, there's so much change going on, and we're going to get into a lot of that today. We'll be talking some Disney firings, which we put a video up about earlier today. We'll be talking some more of the Aquaman drama, because there's reports of a new test screening in which Amber Heard now had more screen time than what she was rumored to have before. What gives? We're going to get into that. And joining us to discuss that is the lovely how's it going?
I'm doing wonderful, Andre and Culture. How are you both today?
Good.
I'm excellent, especially since I'm here with such a great panel. And also to counter the lovely feminine energy of we have the hyper masculine energy of one Paul Chato. How's it going?
Good. I've already started on my first screwdriver this morning. It's been a tough day. Oh, hyper masculine! My God, I thank you. I've never been called hyper masculine, but yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, we like to have different types and different perspectives here.
Oh, absolutely. Is that a general question?
That's a general question.
Someone go first.
Well, let's go with you. How was your week? Since this is weekend
I've had
review?
a pretty good week. It's Friday, so that's always positive. For a Friday, we all love Fridays. I'm glad that the weather is pretty much warm now in the Northeast. I'm enjoying that warm weather, getting out more. Looking forward to the summer and feeling pretty good. So yeah, that's how my week is right now.
Fantastic. And also joining us after the unionized hamsters finally got back to work.
You didn't say nothing to me. You couldn't wait 3 minutes. You didn't even let me know you were going live.
We waited 18 minutes.
He said you've been live for 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But we were supposed to have been live 18 minutes ago. So
nobody said nothing to me.
Hi, Tom.
Oh.
But as we said already, we have some exciting things to talk about now when it finally is showtime. We have a great crowd watching. There's more than 500 watching. Do us a favor,
Wow.
Smash that like. Help share the stream, because Lord knows this channel or this platform is going to help us with that.
And in this case, you can cross your streams.
Yes, in this case, it's perfectly okay.
Especially if there's multiple people at the urinal.
Yeah, and we have a great crowd here. We have Knut is here, for that is what I choose to call him. We have Darren Hughes is here. We have Sander Hammerslag is here. Coffee Lover 239 is here. That 70s rock fan is here. Rod Thunder. Tom, you have to say it. Who else is here?
Rod Thunderheart.
There you go.
Exactly. And Shum reminds us when we were supposed to have started. And yeah, it's nice to have ambitions.
Actually, that didn't work out the way I wanted. Rod Thunderheart.
Oh, there we're going. That's worth it. That's completely worth it. And cocaine is a hell of a drug. Wonders, has Bob Chapek saved Disney yet? Well, it's a long way to go. But firing certain people is a right step in the correct direction. Of course, there's plenty more steps that need to be taken. And an argument can be made that those steps needed to be taken 3 years ago and not today. But
it is what it is when it is.
Yeah. And Kenneth LaRocque is here saying, hey all. We have Ham Dinger is here. He's very happy that you're here, Tom. Six is here. Yum, yum, eat me up. Whoa, what a name. That's brilliant. And we have D. Bud Martin is here. Also happy to see the hamsters jolted. And Sontar and many others are here as well. So with that, let us get into the first warm-up topic. It's Friday, we have movies. How is Dominion doing, Cultured?
Well, Dominion hit the box office officially today, but of course we had Thursday previews, and Jurassic World Dominion opened to $18 million. So it did okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Unless you compare it to Top Gun. If you compare it to Top Gun Maverick, it's behind by 1.3 million. Top Gun Maverick opened at 19.3 million. But this is a solid, strong preview indeed.
I say that again without the spin. That's still pretty damn good for a sixth movie in a series.
I just did. Especially
Top Gun opened to much bigger numbers than anybody had anticipated. So
that's true. Yeah, I expected. But I find it fascinating. It did start early Thursday in various theaters across the country. I have been talked into seeing it, so I will probably be able to give an effective.
It actually came out last weekend in a few places and already made over $50 million. So that needs to be pointed out too.
That's international numbers. Yeah, and it's opening a little softer than they expected in China. It's going to collect about 15 million this weekend in China is what the projection is. So,
I think it was Gamora's surprise appearance in the movie that excited everybody. Never mind.
She's in the movie?
No.
You never know anymore with this stuff.
What about Mothra? Is Mothra in the film?
That would be good.
Mothra.
I think Mothra would have been awesome.
Yeah, would have been so cool.
That would have been good.
Little kaiju humor, folks.
I'm totally there.
Yeah. No, I will be seeing this this weekend or early next week. Before I head to Dallas, and I'll give people my thoughts on it. I'll be fair to this film. The last film was terrible.
Yeah, but as an executive in charge of production, it just has to make money. It doesn't have to be good.
It's true. And it did. It really did.
So that's, I try to take that perspective. When you're in Hollywood and you've got a really good performing film, there's not a single person that tells you at Spagos that, the quality of the film could have been better. No. That's the bakshi. That's really all that counts in the end.
Yeah, I hated the last movie too, like a lot of people did, and I knew that was gonna not help this film, but at the same time, it's about dinosaurs. Kids like dinosaurs.
They do.
And look who they brought back, the old crew.
Exactly.
I mean, it was brilliant. This is I'm surprised they didn't bring
as bad a ratings as it's getting from the critics, and the way Universal panicked about it for some dumb reason with the embargo, even though it's out in a bunch of countries. The few people I've talked to have actually seen it thus far have said it's not horrible. They're like, it's not great, but they're like, it's not, but we're coming off a movie where the last one was called Jurassic World and it took place in a mansion. Let's not forget this.
Yeah, but Adam Sandler movies get creamed and they're hugely successful.
Well, exactly. That's it. These kind of movies are critic proof. That's kind of the point
That's
I was
correct.
making.
Absolutely. And you've got a new star. You got a genuine new star fronting this. Someone who can actually, I think, open a movie.
You think Chris Pratt's going to be able to carry anything he walks into then?
Better than other people.
Oh no, I
wouldn't. I would bet on him. That's for sure.
No,
yeah.
I was just curious because that's bold because it's hard to find like genuine star power now.
I think he has it.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you this way, Culture. The Thursday night preview was big enough that I think it's gonna really hurt Top Gun's bottom line this weekend.
We'll find out. I'm interested to hear.
But we do have Script Doctor here. And we haven't had a chance to introduce him yet. Hello, Script Doctor.
Oh, hey, you don't need to introduce me. I'm cool.
Hey, Script.
Fine, then get the hell out of here.
Hi, Script.
Hi, Script.
I'm kidding, of course. Crypt Doctor, always glad to have you here. How are you doing this morning?
I like that. Crypt Doctor.
Crypt Doctor.
He's the
I
Crypt
like that.
Doctor.
Oh no, they found out my secret.
You're part of the undead.
Today's story, kitties.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was not
House
bad.
of Crypt
Really good.
Doctor Stein. Only Canadians will know that.
They always had a pun, though. The titles always did. You got to remember that.
Oh, of what?
In the Tales from the Crypt, they always had,
Oh, yes,
you
of
know,
course.
yeah, like, don't lose your head type things, you know, like mixed in with the name or whatever.
Yeah, the worst puns you can possibly.
Yeah,
imagine.
always the worst
It
ones.
was
Yeah.
so good. It was so good.
Well, it was good enough that they kind of like stepped away from M. Night Shyamalan, even in the midst of his comeback, doing the Tales from the Crypt reboot, because they couldn't get the rights to the Crypt Keeper, mind you. Whoops, sorry about that, Andre.
No, that's right.
So I got a question to everybody with regards to this movie. We are all aficionados of good movies. We kind of like to make fun of bad movies like this, even if they're successful. Do you think this is good for Hollywood that a bad movie can be this successful?
Hasn't there always been that for the case of all? Is that
Well, yeah,
bad movies
okay.
succeed for-
But I'm
yeah.
just saying, is this a good, ultimately, for long-term health, is this a good thing?
I think I get what Paul's asking here. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
I-
we've had
I borrow
a few successes in a row. Big enough movies are opening. They're not bombing like,
Yeah.
you know, they were back
Yeah, it's
in
not.
the
It's not
uncertain
Black.
times.
Yeah, it's not Black Widow, Eternals. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not. So I mean, not to be cynical.
Yeah.
Ultimately, is this a good thing? Even though we go, oh, the script could have been better.
If I may, I think it's a completely neutral thing. And here's why. This is a pure popcorn cookie cutter, lowest common denominator movie. As far as I know, it doesn't have any kind of messaging one way or the other. It's just pure drivel as an entertainment. It's something that you're meant to go to have a good time. It's a movie that I don't really think matters one way or the other in terms of like box office and box office health. You have already had movies that show that for the right movie, audiences will show up. So like post-pandemic and stuff, that has already been proven. This only goes to show that there's an audience, not that huge as Universal was hoping, but an audience nonetheless. And in terms of messaging to the industry, well, this is like the previous Jurassic Park, or Pirates of the Caribbean, or Transformers, or any other big CGI fest. It's just like pure entertainment.
Right.
And it doesn't do too good. It doesn't do too bad. Actually, to quote the greatest novel ever written, it's mostly harmless.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
That's kind of the reviews I've been getting too. It's not as bad as the last one, but it doesn't have a bunch of woke in it. In fact, I thought it was funny because I asked Six, who saw it last night, I'm like, because I rewatched the first movie for the first time in a little while, and I'm like, God, I was reminded of how much of a feminist Laura Dern was in that first movie. And I even asked her, I'm like, so is she all uber feminist in this one too? She's like, no, not really. I don't remember bringing any of that up. She's like, I don't really remember any woke stuff in the movie all that much.
I don't remember her being a super feminist. In the
She
first
brings
one.
it up like 5 or 6 times in the fucking movie. In fact, she even says to Hammond, we'll have a talk about sexism in the workplace when I get back.
Huh.
Wow, I can remember that.
Yeah, and well, I tell you what, she's not doing it on screen, maybe, but she's doing it plenty of it off screen.
Because you even have that other part where she's like, you know, man dies, or man kills, or dinosaur kills man and woman inherits the earth or whatever. There's that bit, and there's a few other ones. Yeah.
Well, I think we're just lucky that none of the dinosaurs were involved in a court case and had to be replaced.
Wow.
there is touch and go with Blue there for a while,
Yeah.
but
My CGI joke there, Culture. That would be very funny if news came out that one of the CGI characters were like caught in a Me Too.
well, Blue was accusing Chris Pratt of a few things, but
Oof, inappropriate intimacy coordination.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, you can't replace Chris Pratt. Really? Did Chris Pratt get nailed with?
No.
No. They just try to cancel him constantly.
Oh yeah, just because.
Oh yeah, nonstop, absolutely nonstop.
Yeah.
Well, kind of the Gina Carano thing where there is no the left will not broach any deviation. None, zero.
Yeah, that's right. You have to be complete lockstep at all times, and deviate a little bit once, and you're,
Unless you're part of the
Oh, no.
apparatchik. I remember,
then
when
it's
I went
okay.
1972 Hungary, Budapest, it was illegal for citizens to buy anything but Iron Curtain cars, except for the apparatchiks who all had black Mercedes.
But Chris Pratt seems to continually get roles, whether it's Hollywood blockbusters or streaming movies.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going anywhere, and I think if you throw him in a film, people will show up. So,
Well,
Yeah, no,
money talks.
that's because the audiences like him. People
They
will go to show up to his movies. He is a draw. So you have like those liking ratings where you measure how much a given star is liked and how much a star is disliked. And he scores really high on both of those. But the number that like him is much, much, much higher than those who dislike him. It's
It
just that those who
definitely is.
dislike him are very, very visible on Twitter.
There was
And
a
we-
name for the
Lorraine-
television version of that. I can't remember the name of it actually. Q score.
Q score,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was. Yeah, it's the same
Is that
thing
is that in the
Q
films
score.
too? Is the Q
Same
score?
thing. Yeah, Q score.
Because in television, for instance, Robert Urich had a super high Q score. Anyway, I'm diverting.
No, you make a good point. I mean, Lorraine and I just did a show on Chris Pratt because we are such big fans of his, and
Interesting.
we were excited for this, and for anything that he's in, we definitely go to see, and I think a lot of women feel that way. So, I do have to say that at least.
Any excuse.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I even liked
No.
him in that dumb Netflix show.
Yeah, me too.
That movie.
Oh, the time travel one?
All the time. Yeah.
Soldiers of Tomorrow or something.
War of Tomorrow, or War, yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. I like.
You know what?
I don't even think that was the title, but
As a time waster, it was a wonderful time waster. And
Tomorrow
I think that's
Land or something.
that's like two time travel movies that were not bad that they just can't get right with the title. Right? You had The Edge of Tomorrow and Future War or whatever the hell it was called. And yeah, both were decent films, but it's like those are shit titles. They should have come up with something better, but
Well, Edge of Tomorrow was originally Live, Die, Repeat.
yeah, see, and that's not even that great, to be honest with you.
But I mean, on top of that, Edge of Tomorrow had better time travel rules than the War of Tomorrow.
oh, that's for
That
sure.
very,
Oh, yeah.
very or Tomorrow War or whatever the hell it was called. Yeah, see,
Tomorrow
people are
War,
saying
yeah.
Tomorrow War in the chat. But like, it's like Back to the Future is like lightning in the bottle for a title for a time travel movie. They have not been able to come up with a good one since. What's hilarious is the head of Universal at the time wanted to change the title because he didn't like it. That was one of the times Steven Spielberg ran interference because one of the notes Ned Tannen sent to him was like, "We need to change that title. Call it Space Boy from
Right.
the Space Boy from Mars or whatever." And Robert Zemeckis and them were panting. They're like, "We can't call it that." And he's like, "I'll take care of this." Steven said. And he wrote him back a letter. Says, "Thanks for the huge laugh. It got a laugh from everybody in the crew. We can't wait to hear your next one." And he never got another note from Tannen again. And yes, Biff Tannen was named after him in the film. So
So I guess to follow up on Mr. Chato's question,
Sorry,
are films
yeah.
going in the right direction? Now, only Andre got the answer. So, Tom, culture.
I did kind of say yes. I mean, in a sense
I
that.
talked about Blue, but yeah, okay.
I think they
So
are.
I
and
kind of did.
I think they have since Fast and Furious 9 of last year. I think they just need to continue to crank out films like this, and people will show up to the box office, and franchise will continue to get funded, and I think it is heading in the right direction.
So is this a case of all boats rise up?
Yeah, all boats rise together. Yeah. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. The rising tide floats all boats.
Yeah.
I think Top Gun was the big
Yeah.
canary in the coal mine because it was like there was a movie that, I mean, because if you kind of look back, a lot of the going back to the theater kind of began back in October with Venom and Ghostbusters. And now we've got a point here where we've had, you could say, at least 4 or 5 films that have opened like a normal movie should.
Yeah.
Right? I would have expected this movie to open like this.
Well, and I think pure entertainment properties are what it will be in demand for the long haul now, because as we step into ridiculous economic circumstances, people do truly need an escape. And if you literally want to kill Hollywood and even television and even streaming services, you keep putting out the failed ideological trope junk, and you're going to fail your entire business. So I have a feeling that, you know, Tom's right. The canary in the coal mine was Top Gun, a pure entertainment property, something that honored what came before, and, you know, was there for
even though it was a sequel, it's still kind of standalone-ish in its way.
It is. It actually could be. If you'd never seen the first film, walking into that, you would be
to a point. But what I mean actually is that it's not building, like, it's not being built off of a film that came out 2-3 years ago, like this Jurassic World. If anything, you could probably argue this movie would have opened another 5, 6, 7 million better if the last film had been good, right? Yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying. The fact that this movie did open to this much is kind of, to answer Paul's question, is I think movies are pretty much back to where they were as far as that respect.
Yeah, I also think that returning to form, you know, like bringing Trevorrow back and stuff like that probably did.
Well, yeah, that helps. Well, and the original cast, I'm sure, got a lot of butts in the seats.
Well, and you know, as juxtapose that with, and I'm going to do it, Star Wars, where we didn't get the 3 primary.
Oh, Colin made sure you knew they were all in there at the same time.
I know. And that's, you know, and that's like, because that's a lesson learned. And Trevor was part of like trying to fix all of that. So I truly believe this shows what happens when you try to honor what goes before. So.
I mean, it sounds safe from a lot of what I've heard, even though it does have to pick up the threads of the last film. From what I've heard from a few people, it ties more into the original film and stuff like that. So fans should enjoy it. It's a nice bow tied onto the series. I was told even last night that the final season of that series that's on Netflix right now wraps into this, and so it's all they're kind of ending the series. So if it ends on a high note, good for them. Considering that last film was garbage, it would be nice to have one that just wasn't. So. Hopefully it's good. I was going to go see it yesterday. I didn't get a chance. So, and 6 says, yeah, safe is a good word to describe it. See, there you go.
Yeah, that's fine.
There you go. But as far as Top Gun goes, I'm glad to see it's doing really well. And hopefully it stands up against the dinosaurs this weekend for its sake. But
yeah,
that would have been a nice combo movie.
What happens.
Yeah.
And
Tom Cruise against a T-Rex. I'm going to need a fighter.
That's right.
And then, before we get into the first
also
main
starring
topic,
Vin Diesel,
which is that of Amber
and
Heard here.
Amber.
Oh, Lord, Amber, the color of the poo on the bed. Let's get a few of these first, though.
Exactly.
Rupert
Let's get a few super chats in first.
Has now became a member. Welcome to the club, my friend. We need to do something for the members. I'm sorry, members, we haven't had a chance to. Andre's been dealing with stuff in the background and all that kind of stuff, and so have I. So hopefully we get caught up at some point here, and we definitely got to try and do something this weekend or something.
Very soon here.
Yeah, if we can't this weekend, we'll try to do it early next week at the latest here. Callum Lyle says Jurassic World Dominion was okay. Here we go. He got another take on it. The trio was back. Rexy and Blue got a happy ending, but Trevorrow should never have villains. What have I been telling people? These movies, that's the problem with them. It's always the fucking villains. I got into it with a couple people yesterday about how useless Dennis Nedry is in the first film, too. And he's the beginning of it all. Callum Lyle then says, Daniel Pinata wasn't even in the movie. She was only in it for a few seconds with the SJW haircut, so a slap in her face for her. Maybe she didn't test very well.
Daniela's in it?
Yeah. Maybe she didn't test very well.
I don't know. You know what? I would go to see any movie with Jeff Goldblum. So he's an opener for me.
That's kind of what I said. As long as there's dinosaurs and Jeff Goldblum, I'm there. Because I actually love the second film. Most people don't, I know, but
I love the second film.
he's got a unique delivery that I love, just in every character that he plays. You know,
Well, I love that second film because like Hammond's like, we're not making the same mistakes as last time. He's like, oh no, you're making all new mistakes. Just the way he says it and stuff like that. It's just
delivery.
And the other one, my other favorite one's like, yeah, it starts out with ooh, ah, then there's running and screaming.
Yeah.
He's unique.
He is.
He's unique. He needs to be in more movies.
Oh, he was one of the amazing parts of Thor Ragnarok, right?
He's the only reason that second Independence Day was even remotely watchable, and I'll never watch that thing again.
Oh, I did. Why did you watch it the first time? Good.
Oh,
I don't know.
You had to. It was huge.
Yeah, so you had hope that it was going to be another Cobra Kai. You had that hope. It turned out it was hope in vain. But
I will never forget that they were able to interface over a serial connection from Apple portable to an alien vessel, obviously running the same OS, because if you're going to upload a virus, it's got to be the same OS.
Dad, you're a genius. I'll give it a virus.
I'm screaming in the theater. I was kicked out of the movie theater. I stood up and went, "You can't do that!" And the usher came down and pulled me out of the theater.
And what's so funny is that, same OS, that's one thing, but you couldn't even use a modern Mac to infest
absolutely.
a Mac from 1995 that way, could you?
Plus, we live in a mechanical world, and that alien was a biological world.
Yep.
So you're hooking up a mechanical computer into a biological computer.
Yeah.
With no Okay, I'm not reliving this nightmare. Andre, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm not going to traumatize you unduly. Let's move on to the next couple of super chats. Then we'll get into the next order of business here.
So Daniela was in the movie. I'm surprised that she didn't release a YouTube rant on how shitty the movie.
Compies won't fit in all my crevices.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dark King is in the house. How you doing, Dark King? Says, why the fuck does the YouTube algorithm keep recommending videos of people popping pimples and cysts? Is this Skynet's first move to Judgment Day? Okay, one of two things have happened. Either A, YouTube's fucking with something in the background.
Yep.
Or somebody like your cat stepped on the spacebar button and accidentally hit one of those videos, and now the algorithm thinks you want to watch them.
I have not seen any yet. They've not pushed any towards me.
Which video was this he said?
He was just seeing, like, and I've seen this happen, like random videos of things that you would never fucking watch in a million years.
That has never shown up in my in my feed. Luckily,
I get these random Christian ones where creationism, is the real deal videos. I go, what? Why am I getting these?
I think I prefer that to popping pimples.
I can't believe you guys don't just dive in for that Dr. Pimple Popper thing. I mean, that's all the rage.
I got enough of that shit hanging out with other people. I'm good. No, that's not the kind of thing I go in for on YouTube. But yeah, that's usually what that means. Or it heard you say something. I've noticed that's another thing that's been happening to me a lot lately.
Yeah.
Somebody will say something and all of a sudden something will pop up on YouTube, or I'll say something and it'll pop up on YouTube.
Yeah.
In fact, the funny thing was I was singing karaoke the other night and there was a line that kept repeating in the song, and there was another song with that same title of that line. And as I was scrolling through to look for my karaoke song, all of a sudden I started getting karaoke of that song. I'm like, I didn't even ask for that. That's fucking weird. YouTube is listening.
Well, Google is listening. That's
Google is YouTube, so there you go.
Yeah.
And they're most definitely listening. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's how it is. Even I heard my accent there, but anyway, never mind.
Even I heard my accent.
Moving on.
Yes, Sean, the movie man, is now a member as well. Thank you so much. And yes, sorry, my landlord decided to mow right now, so Sadie's just going apeshit in the background. Callum Lyle, a major sponsor this morning, says, also on Stan, there's a British 7-episode sci-fi horror called Midwich Cuckoos.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You might like it based on those creep alien kids' mind control powers.
This is old. Midwich Cuckoos is an old movie. Is there a new series?
It says 7-episode sci-fi horror.
Wow. Because the Midwich Cuckoos is like an old black and white movie.
I'm writing it down.
Not familiar with either of those if it is a remake, so there you go. Zontar says F1's in Baku and Indies at Road America this Sunday. Just saying it's another week. Indy's gonna be better. 24 Hours Le Mans starts tomorrow.
Ooh.
Go Glickenhaus, USA, USA, USA. He might not end last. There you go for you racing fans out there.
There you go.
A lot of that was gibberish to me. Thank you for that, Zontar. Colin Lyle coming in with another one. Soy Boy Smith is getting transgender Tila Part 2. Yeah, I saw that. Even though he's got me blocked like a bitch. Netflix and Powerhouse is filled with shunts, so I guess they haven't learned.
Actually, let's talk about that a little bit. We'll be talking about Amber Heard next, but since Callum Lyle raised it, I was going to bring it up later in the show. But let's do it now. I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to bring up the tweet which served as the official announcement for Masters of the Universe Revelation Season 2.
Oh, yeah.
Now called Masters of the Universe Revolution. This is something that was announced by Kevin Smith himself, retweeted by Masters of the Universe.
Oh, that's what his tweet looked like? Oh, we can see your private chat there, whoever's
okay.
sharing this.
Let's fix that.
See little arrows that say down?
Yeah.
Drop down. Yeah.
There you go.
Never mind. It was nothing very important.
We saw your porn.
Wow.
Yeah, you saw that. You saw our member chats.
Yeah, those member chats.
Viking porn.
Anyway.
Wait,
member
to follow
chats
somebody
that
is to
we'll be
feed
getting
them?
back to
What?
side.
What is that? Oh, Fold. Never mind.
Anyway, so Kevin Smith, he then tweeted, after Revelation comes Revolution. I'm ecstatic to be making more Masters of the Universe with Mattel and Powerhouse Animation for Netflix. Big thanks to everyone who streamed our show last summer. You gave us the power to go back to Grayskull for another epic Eternian adventure.
Fuck you,
Well,
Kevin
we
Smith.
have the whole poster here.
I thought it was a failure.
It kind of
Yeah,
was.
this is kind of like what I wanted to hear what your guys' opinion of. Because the first
What's the
question is that-
ratio on it? Scroll down a little bit. Or go back
see
up.
here.
One of the two. Which I was curious what the ratio was on the tweet. Likes 5,000. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not great.
But
though.
anyway, what stands out to me is that this show came out just about a year ago. It was like late June, early July last year. I don't remember exactly, but it was about a year ago. And now is when the announcement for what amounts to season 2 comes. 1 year later. Remember, that 3D animated series for kids simply called Masters of the Universe, where they all have the power. That was released later, and that had a season 2 released almost right away. In this case, it was almost a year between premiere and sequel and season 2 announcement. Why such a delay? Why did this take so time? Mr. Chato, being a former TV executive, why do you think this sequel announcement took so incredibly long? Because this is a long time for a season 2 announcement, isn't it?
Well, they've done that. Netflix has wiped out a huge bunch of their animation section, a lot of new animation. I'm quite surprised that they announced this. However, this could have been in production. So one of the things that people don't realize, that when something is in production, it's actually cheaper to keep it going than to come up with something completely new. So a lot of people ask me, how come they didn't cancel Batwoman or whatever? Well, if it's in production, it actually takes less money to keep the production going than to start from scratch with something new. A considerably amount of money, less money. So maybe this was already happening. I mean, I know Kevin Smith ran away from the huge volume of negative reaction.
Yeah, he did.
Part one, he literally scurried away with his tail between his legs. And then this came up and I was completely shocked. So something's going on here. The only other thing I can think of is that there's external money has been pumped in.
Oh, I'm sure Mattel had something to do with it too.
Yes. Mattel
Maybe
probably
they pumped in more money.
Well, and that's the thing, is even though the show didn't do well, I think the toys did, because people liked a lot of the designs.
So I bet you dollars to donuts, if I was the network executive in charge of this, I would go back to Mattel and say, you want this still on? Well, you're going to up your ante in terms of production costs.
Because you're right. They did close down their animation facility through Netflix. So whoever's producing this, it's not in-house. And isn't it the same company that did the, what show is that?
The Castlevania thing?
Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. Thank you.
Yeah, I would go as far as to say Netflix is not paying a cent for this anymore.
No. Yeah, I would be right there with you. I can't imagine that this is Netflix money. I really can't. Based on the reception of the previous, again, I think it's all driven by toy sales. I really do. Yep. I agree with Tom.
But have the toy sales been that amazing, though? I mean, Tom, how are
surprisingly they have
Universe toy sales doing? Both Revelation, the Revelation line, and the Origins line. How are they doing?
Here's the thing. At this point, last I kind of checked into it, the Revelation line was doing a little bit better than the Origin line, but there's a big but to that. The Origin line is also reaching the end. As far as like the major characters, like we're getting down to like the bottom of the barrel characters now. So that's one problem. Walmart had a bunch of exclusive shit with that, so that made getting your hands on some of the last figures a pain in the ass until recently. And the other thing is I've never seen any Revelation figures on clearance as opposed to some of the other like the CGI animated one and some Origin figures that they had an abundance of. Surprisingly, again, Buzz Off. Buzz is everywhere. You're not going to have a problem getting Buzz Off, kids. This is just like 1986 all over again. I don't know.
Tom, tell the story for those that may.
For those who don't know, it was the Christmas of 86 or 87, one of the two. They didn't have a new.
It would have to be 86.
86. So they didn't have a new He-Man. It was the 1 year they didn't have a new He-Man and Skeletor to go with their line. Every year before that, they at least had like Battle Damage, Power Punch, whatever kind of He-Man to go with the line.
Would be 87.
I think so. So what happened was all they had was a bunch of Buzz-Offs in the fucking factory. So they shipped a shit ton of Buzz-Offs everywhere. So you'll see these pictures of Christmas of that year and shelves just full of Buzz-Off and no other character. So the guy who's his name, he went from Mattel to Ninja Turtles. And this is why I think it had to be 86, but go ahead. What was his name again?
The animator.
The guy who
first ripped off Conan.
Yeah, Mark or I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, he went out and physically took a bunch of the original figures and replaced them on shelves in some places because he was appalled that they didn't have any figures out there. And it was just a big fucking mess, and it was one of the big things that really didn't help He-Man near the end of its original run.
There were many things that worked together. Mark Taylor. I was gonna
say I knew it was Mark something. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that following year is when they had some of the worst characters ever. We're talking like nobody gave a shit characters.
I am looking forward to the new Buzz Off Lightyear movie.
Buzz Off Lightyear. See, that's one I'm not so sure is going to do so well.
I'm actually more hopeful for season 2 than I am for season 1. And you know why?
You think
I
they
have a
learned their
feeling I
lesson?
know why. I don't know about that. I think that what he's getting to is, in this case, we've already had Teela's big adventure, so now they can kind of concentrate on He-Man, but you giving them way too much hope.
Well, the thing is that, yeah, you're right. You already had Teela and Evelyn's big adventure. So that's in the past, and they got a big black eye for their trouble. Kevin Smith was absolutely reamed through the coal, and I think at some level he is aware of that. Of course, it wasn't his fault. The real problem there was Netflix Ted Biaselli. But I know, I have some inside knowledge there that Ted Biaselli was reamed through the coal in Netflix too, because this did not work out the way that they had planned. They wanted to launch like a huge thing with He-Man in live action animation and everything. They had all these visions, and then Revelations came out and it fucked it all, because the reception was horrendous. Like literally, it was The Last Jedi all over again. And you are right. I don't think that Netflix renewed this. This is driven exclusively by, at this point, with the offer they were given by Mattel, obviously, they would have been stupid not to accept another season. But if Netflix had to actually pay for it, they wouldn't have. And they have the metrics to show that the interest was there. The audience was there.
Oh, that first part did
episode
well,
was
yeah.
huge, and then it dropped.
And that goes with the
massively.
toys, is people like the designs. Like I knew a lot of people who didn't like the show that were sending me images of their toys and stuff they were picking up, because the toys were actually pretty decent. So I think the toys, that's what sold this show.
Didn't they kill off He-Man in that?
Yeah, 3 times.
3 times. I thought it was
Like
only
2 or
twice.
3 times. Yeah, 2 or 3 times they killed him in that
Yeah,
show.
we lose count. Basically, they humiliated and killed him off any chance they got. Like they killed him off one time, and that wasn't enough. So they brought him back to life only to kill him again, like by literally having him shanked from the back. And we're not even joking for those that may not have seen it. And yeah, but no, I believe my understanding is that Ted Biaselli, he lost power and influence in Netflix because of that.
Wow.
Because it was such a black face, or black eye. Not black face, that's something else. Black eye is what I meant to say to his...
he kind of did do blackface with this, though, Andre, if you really think about it, with the one character, so that isn't completely off.
Kind of they did, but what I meant was that they took one to the nose and they got a black eye for their trouble. Basically, that's kind of like what happened. It was a disaster all around. For Netflix internally, Masters of the Universe Revelation was a big, big disappointment. And Biaselli got a stern talking to, because the feedback they got is that the wokeism is what destroyed it. And the one who pushed that was Biaselli. And you'll note that in the years since, Netflix have been purging a lot of people, and it's their wokest employees. Now, Biaselli, he's part of the family, so he's not going to be ousted, but he is going to get the stern talking to, and don't do this again. So I don't, for that reason, because it really didn't work out for them last time, I think it's a fair chance that this season might be better. I'm not predicting that it's going to be. I'm not saying I think it's going to be. Well, a little bit I'm saying that, but I think there's a better chance that this could be better, because last time when the original season was made of Revelation, you had everyone there who were fully on board with the agenda, who were genuinely thinking, this is what the audience wants. The Twitterati are going to freaking love this. They're going to love the Teela show. They're going to love the false flag we're selling it under. And they didn't.
Well, Pete Duncat just brought something to my attention here, because as you'll remember, that little fat bitch fucking blocked me, not only on Twitter, but he must have been so butthurt by what I said. And this is where I was like, because people are like, oh, are you so sure? He's like, no, yeah, I figured out he is totally like blocking people individually, because he pre-blocked Midnight's Edge After Dark. Wow. I went to one of his live streams and my messages weren't going through. But I guess, because if you'll remember, not too long after the show came out, he basically got babied by a bunch of people over there, and they taught him how to use the block button. And he got empowered at that moment in time. But if he's talking like this, then that means that I think Andre's right. And I didn't see him thank Ted in his announcement there that you showed me that I couldn't see before. So I wonder how close Ted is to this show.
Because
and I wonder,
Ted Biaselli probably is the one running it, but everyone knows internally in Netflix, everyone knows this was Ted Biaselli's fault. It's because of Ted Biaselli.
Well, let me read what Pete Den said here.
That this was messed up.
Pete Den said, Kevin on his Fat Man Beyond show said he got why peeps were upset and he's learned. He's a top bloke, although he will tell you different. See, because that goes completely against that interview that we read on here a few months back, where he was basically vindicated.
Well, he'll change his story, won't he?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if, because see, there's the thing, Kevin is not, he's not a good liar. And you can really read into what he's saying a lot of times real easy. And I've listened to him for enough years that I kind of know how he talks. So this to me tells me that this, I'm not going to say this is going to be good, but this tells me they may have been told to step a bit away from that other shit.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm not, I think they still have the wrong showrunner in Kevin Smith.
Yeah,
he has no business being showrunner. Of course, he isn't a showrunner. And I just want to highlight a super chat from Tim Scorpion right away, who says,
"Sorry about
that. Kevin hired as a fall guy or something?" Yes, he was. Kevin Smith was never a showrunner. He was a showrunner in name only. The real showrunner was the dude from Mattel, Rob David, or what his name was. He was the first real secondary showrunner because he was the one that helped with all medallion stuff. But the one that really called all the shots was Ted Biaselli. For all intents and purposes, he was the showrunner. Kevin Smith, he was a marketing point man. That's what he was. He was hired for one reason only, so that they could put him in interviews, so that he could hype things up, because Rob David, he can't hype things up. No one knows who he is. Same thing with Biaselli. He certainly can't hype things out. They wanted someone that's going to give them press and everything. So after they had decided what the series was going to be, how woke it was going to be, that was Biaselli. How it was going to be true and not true to the different characters, that was Rob David. They needed face for marketing to push this to the crowd. That was Kevin Smith's job. That's why he was hired. And then he got to throw in a joke here. He got to throw in Pig Boy there. He got to want to fist.
I don't even think Pig Boy was his joke, to be honest with you.
Yeah. That's what he got to do.
I don't know.
But he was never the real showrunner.
I don't even think he had that much influence, to be honest with you, Andre, because I don't think he knew anything about those things. Probably I really don't think. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have more than enough proof that he not only wasn't a fan of Masters of the Universe, but he actively disliked it. I mean, he basically calls it gay in that one thing he was talking about. Like, so that's what I'm saying.
Which is ironic, because Biaselli actually is gay.
I know. Well, and this was some years ago, but like the one clip that I pointed out to everybody was that one from Comic Book Men where he flat out says, "I'm not a fan of He-Man. I've never liked He-Man." And that's what went along with what I said before. He would have been too old when He-Man came out.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But my worry for this is that the only one that they have who is capable of being a showrunner here is Mattel's Rob David. If he is the real showrunner, if he is the one who's basically told, like, fine, you're in control now, do what you must, then we're in good hands. But if Biaselli is still there, well, of course he's still there. But I think that at some point out here, maybe he can't help himself. He has been told to dial down the wokeness. He has been told, and this I know, there were projects that he wanted to get his fingers on to wokeify, and he was shut down and not allowed to. If he has been told in clear enough words that whatever your instincts are on this, don't. Just oversee and step back. If
Yeah,
that has happened, there's a chance. If not, if he has any real influence, it's all for naught. And same thing with Kevin Smith. He has no business being showrunner for this. And the fact that he's even announcing it, that they still want to keep him as the face of it, after the disaster that season 1 was, that does not fill me with confidence.
I think he just got this deal because he's making a deal for Clerks 3 and Netflix.
That's possible.
I'm not kidding. No, I'm not
Well,
kidding.
that sounds plausible.
Because for him to get Clerks 3 on Netflix would be a big payday for him.
Yeah, it would be good.
And from what culture sent me here, this says it's supposed to be Skeletor centric in the second season, so that could be one of two things. Either they are
And that
correcting.
sounds, you know who that sounds like? You know who's the Skeletor fan? Rob David.
Yeah, I was gonna say either that means they're correcting course, or it could be based on that stupid prequel comic, which I hope it's not.
Or it's going to be based on Clerks.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Skeletor's
there
not even supposed to be here today.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Okay, that was good. Mike, you're unfired.
There you go.
37! Beastmen suck 37 dicks! In a row.
So yeah, no. Hearing that this is Skeletor centric, that tells me that Rob David may have more influence here. I don't know that. I'm just going by what you said. But Skeletor is honestly one of the more compelling characters, and the best parts of the first season was the bits with Skeletor and Evelyn, which there were way too few of. So yeah.
Sorry. Nah, this is gonna be a fucking disaster. I can see it already. I hope it's good.
I hope it's good too, but they lost a lot of fan confidence, and they know it.
Now his name is Feastman. Feasting on wieners.
Yeah. But anyway, what do the rest of you think about this? Culture. What's your gut instinct?
My instincts are the same they were the first time around. I'm terrified what they could possibly do with this property if they are to get somebody behind this that isn't going to push a bunch of agenda stuff. Maybe they can recover. I don't think so. This thing, based on some stuff I put in the private chat, and look, from day one, this thing got just completely obliterated on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't get better; it got worse. You have, some streaming numbers that suggest that this never should have been, it shouldn't have been made the way it was. But then, why would you add a sequel to it? Again, we'll just have to see. This is one of those wait and see things. But I'm not hopeful. If that's the question, I'm not hopeful.
Yeah, no, they have to give us a reason to be hopeful, and right now there isn't one, to be quite honest. Yeah, Tom, let's do a few more super chats before we get back into the real main topic, namely Amber Heard and Aquaman screenings, because there's a lot to say about that.
Oh, well then.
Sorry, Sadie's barking in the background.
As a palate cleanser, I would just like to tell everybody that the Midwich Cuckoos, the movie was Village of the Damned.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So I knew I was scratching my brain parts going, wait. And Village of the Damned is one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. Mm-hmm. Anyway. So Midwich Cuckoos, cool. Village of the Damned, more useless.
There you go.
Info from Paul. Next.
I think it's ironic that Kevin Smith had this documentary about him called Clerk, meant to celebrate his career and his contributions in the same year that he was just so pulled down by the disaster that Revelations became. And for me, the biggest fear is more of those drawings in this particular animated series. And someone had put in the chat about, the clitoris belt and, all sorts of unusual depictions, as well as comments in the series like, well, if it wasn't for you, Tila, Adam would never have discovered what a great man he is, and had the strength to continue on. Comments like that where they have to kind of unjustifiably congratulate or thank someone as to why they're able to save the day or the universe or whatever. So I guess we have to prepare ourselves for more of that.
Now you're talking Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot like that, Paul. That's the thing.
Yeah. Basically, this Masters of the Universe Revelation might as well have been called Masters of the Universe Discovery, because that's exactly
Pretty
what
much.
it was. Yeah.
It was a lot of talking in hallways.
That is literally what they did to it.
You're so good. You're so powerful. I don't know what we would have done without you.
And the second half got worse.
I believe that those were the exact words said to Teal at one point.
Well, the second half got worse, as I pointed out to people, because there was a few people going, "Oh, the second part was better." I'm like, "Are you in fucking insane?" To where it took me 2 minutes to just basically act it out with toys to tell people how bad it really was. Should I bring that clip up, Andre?
Yeah, no, you're right. Because in the first section, for shits and giggles. Evelyn was kind of propped up and she looked beautiful and amazing. And then they turned her into something that was unrecognizable. So you're right, Tom.
Yeah, they turned her into a dude.
I wish someone would turn me into a dude.
I don't really cover the first part of the season, though, so you might want to
just bring up the clip here.
I got to find it here. Jeez, Sadie.
It's okay. It's a dog. Dogs are lovely.
Yeah, and especially when a leaf is falling outside. Meanwhile, while you wait for that, Yummy Bliss said for $5. I just hope they don't do the new comic Skeletor origin, where he lost his wife and child and then joined Hordak to get them back. Actually, I did.
That's what I was talking about
on that prequel comic, and it's the single worst prequel comic I have ever read in my entire life, bar none. Where basically they give Skeletor the Punisher's origin story. Only he comes from a planet of Skeletors, and he lost his beautiful Skeletor wife and his beautiful Skeletor child, and he's just trying to get them back again. That's his origin. So yay, good times.
You'd think he'd go out humping new meat. Now that he's doesn't have to worry about the wife and children.
Well, he misses humping his old Skeletor wife. That's
that's just not in character.
And
batching it, he could Skeletor going on one of the online dating apps.
Well, he did find Evelyn in one of those.
That's right. See.
You should put this up as a trailer on somebody.
I think I have.
Okay.
Tell me about Motu, because I was gonna look at it to review, but I mean, I was gonna reenact it. Right now, tell me, actually. How was it, Tom?
Hi, Skeletor. Hi, Evelyn. I gave you everything, you stupid cunt. And I'm gonna take it from you. By fucking you.
Yeah, literally, that was in the show.
Come on.
You are so obsessed with
love.
That's all you
and
ever
they had
think
some
about.
gratuitous grinding going on.
So I'm going to destroy everything because you're obsessed with one person. I'm fucking everything up. You're crazy, bitch. I'm going to team up with the good guys. Fuck you.
And
women don't
not
take
done
things
yet.
Oh no!
No, and this is a very true.
Yeah, everybody, yeah, hold it.
You
He's doing the
bitch.
whole reenactment.
You didn't tell me who I am. I'm dead. I don't fucking care.
Wait a minute, the sorceress died?
By the way,
they killed her
your
off.
birthright is to be like me. I don't want to be like you. Well, tough shit. If you don't, everything ends. Okay. Now, there's one catch I forgot to tell you about. Fuck. What's that?
Fuck.
You can't leave the castle ever. Oh, I don't agree with that. That's not my truth. I'm going to include everybody. That way, I can leave the castle whenever I want. Fuck your rules. Bitch, that's not how the Force works. I can't hear you.
That's literally what happened. That is literally what happened.
It was very much like a child was writing it. It was very much like two children were playing with their action figures and making it up as
Exactly, yes.
Although the adult parts were like a very poorly executed, low budget, soft porn nightmare.
So that kind of writing is
no glove, no love comments, and the off sort of like remarks that don't make sense in that world or any other world, honestly, unless it was pornography or soft porn.
But that kind of writing has permeated everything. I'm commenting on the latest Strange New Worlds episode 6, and La'an dresses down Uhura for not following proper procedure, and our hero goes, oh, and then after she does what she's told, and La'an says, "See, that's the proper procedure." La'an walks away, and Uhura rolls her eyes. Like, oh.
But La'an didn't follow proper procedure herself. She admitted that she jumped the gun by pulling out those cartridges without informing the right people, and she did it unauthorized.
Well, that's a different issue. I'm just talking about Uhura as being the archetype for all the kids out there to learn how to work with authority figures, and she's just whatever. I mean, it's just all this is the writing is the same everywhere.
Uhura was always a class act, and they've taken all the class out of it, haven't they?
That's a different.
But we'll get back into Strange New Worlds in a separate stream once we're all fully caught up with it. So far, I'm one episode in, and I can't wait to do a video giving my
why have you wasted that much time on it?
Before that, though, Castarius wonders, Paul, which version of Village of the Damned are you a fan of, the 1960 or 95 version?
George Sanders version, man. Are you out of your mind? 1960, George Sanders.
Oh, of course,
in that room with the kids. He's got the bomb in the brief in his satchel, and he's thinking brick wall, brick wall, brick wall. And the kids go, "Professor, why are you thinking of a brick? Holy fuck, boom."
Although the John Carpenter one isn't horrible. Christopher Reeves.
I'm sorry, just like the Brit.
No, I get you though. Yeah, I'm more of an original kind of guy too. So, but I think it's just they're all remakes of the same story in the end.
Right,
so.
and I guess it was also when I saw it in 1960. I was young. I mean, it had a profound positive effect on me. Scared me to death.
Wow. There you go.
But Mike is in the chat listening while he's doing taxes. He's been a member for 15 months at the Crab level. Thank you so much. He says, smash the like button, share the stream, and subscribe to the channel today. Indeed. Not tomorrow, today. And then Professor Gray is in the house and says, Netflix is in talks to buy Roku for the ad money. Really? You heard about this culture?
No. Wow. That's huge. Consider
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Roku is a Netflix product. Netflix invented Roku and spun it off. So I guess they just want to pull it back 100% into the fold.
I was gonna say, who did they sell it off to, or did they just spin it off?
It was a separate,
just complete spin-off.
Yeah, it was a complete. So
this would be a remerger then, basically.
Correct. Yeah, Roku was invented by Netflix. It was partly spun off so they could be platform neutral.
I did not know that part.
See, that's why you had me.
Paul taught me something today. I learned that we're all different inside.
The more you know, the less you blow.
Exactly. No, I did not know that. That's something interesting for culture to look into. Hyper Guyver says, as always, is looking lovely. So can we not talk too late regurgitation today? I don't want myself of Paul to lose, or Paul, I think he means yes, to lose their lunch. Well, a little late for that, unfortunately, but we're past it now. We're going to get to Amber news.
Yeah, we'll get to Amber, so then you can lose your lunch all over again.
Exactly. Big Raj has been
about leaving the digested lunch on the bed.
Yeah. Big Raj has been a member for 15 months. Thank you for being a member. You help keep the light on here. We got Olaf Vaness, who's also been this is a year. Happy anniversary. He says a lovely panel with a load of topics. Should be a fun stream. Always a pleasure to see Paul join us. Indeed, it is. Let's have a great stream, people. Thank you so much. We got Mute Gamer who says, Tom, check out LRG. They got new TMNT game. Ooh, interesting. What's LRG?
Company maybe or something?
Yeah. I'll have to check into that. Thank you so much for the heads up, Mute Gamer. I know we're getting a lot of TMNT games this year, so I'm gonna have to look into that one.
It's a strong brand.
That 70s rock fan has been a member for 15 months and says Skull. Thank you so much.
Oh.
That one's for Andre.
Indeed, Skull.
Member chats from Steven, aka Deleted Scenes, says speechless and heartbroken to learn the passing of frequent David Lynch collaborator Julie Cruz. May she rest in peace. Yeah, I heard about this yesterday. She was only 65, sadly. You may recognize her from Twin Peaks fame, but yeah. Sorry to hear about that. And then he also adds in news is troubling to say the least. Toby Stevens got robbed. There you go. About the latest Doctor Who news. Sorry, I didn't read that part. Yeah, I am not keeping up with the Doctor Who stuff, but for those who are fans, I know there's been a lot to go on over
There's
there.
a new Doctor Who.
Yeah. House Atreides is in the house and says, "Hail, the new Jurassic movie is not horrible." But it is the same movie as parts 2, 3, 4, and 5. Greedy, evil billionaire screwing stuff. Of course. Of course.
Well, it's a proper trilogy then. In a
guess.
sense, I guess.
What would be 6 movies? A sexology? I'm not kidding. That's what it would be, wouldn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Sextuplet.
A sextology? Okay.
You'd think in this modern time, the evil person would be a Transosaurus Rex.
Oh,
it's the latest.
Actually, that'd be the hero Stunning and Brave.
That you're right.
With a clitoris belt.
With a clitoris belt. Hey, Chef, can you tell me where to find the clitoris? Why is it you kids always asking me this stuff? Don't you got parents?
so good.
Planner Aspect says, huge JP lifelong fan. I couldn't have guessed it in a million years, Planner Aspect. Wink. No, Planner Aspect's a listener for a long time and always a big JP fan. Says it's a bit vaguely woke in places. Sattler is an unsufferable oh, so they changed her into an environmentalist this time. But it's mostly dinosaur fun times and harmless. Well, to hear you say that there's vaguely woke in places, that makes me worry a little bit, but I'll go into it with
aware. The thing is, maybe, it's just that we're hyper aware now.
Exactly. Because
yeah.
Same thing with watching the first movie, right? Like I said, I mean, I always remember those bits, but then it's like now they're sticking out to me more. Like then they were just kind of chuckle, ha, laugh, whatever. But
yeah, and the heat of the night was hyper woke.
In a way, you could look at it that way to a point, but
but
woke is more of a generic version of actual progressiveness, though. That's the thing.
The Bruce Willis thing?
No. You're thinking of Color of Night.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about
with Sidney Poitier.
Oh, Sidney Poitier.
Was it Rod Steiger? Who's that?
Yeah, Rod Steiger.
Yeah, Rod Steiger. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Great movie.
Yeah, they actually did a series of it, and it was pretty popular too with Carol O'Connor.
Yep, it was good.
And then we got Waddle D's Nuts in the house. It says we also still have Chris Pratt in the Mario movie. It's a me, Mario.
Yeah,
he's doing the lead
with
character.
Chris Pratt, no less. So it'll be interesting to see how
It'll be interesting.
How
Chris Pratt's in everything, though, so that's
Chris
not a
Pratt's
surprise.
a good Italian
I'm
name.
fine with it.
Yeah.
Oh. Disney is flirting with sub $100 today, kids.
Uh-oh. What'd they do?
Well, they ever since they announced Peter Rice exit.
That's all that is. It'll come back. We're going to talk a little bit about
the
that.
markets are down across the board.
They are.
So it may be part of that, but like the Dow Jones, everything is down.
Yep.
So there are several things.
Peter Rice
at the same time. Peter Rice alone
was a
is not
public
gonna have
beheading.
that big a thing. Yeah, that was exactly. That was a public beheading.
It was.
It's not going to influence the price that much. So that, if anything, is actually more of a coincidence.
I hope people have seen the video that Andre dropped this morning. Did that drop this morning, Andre?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, yeah.
Because, this was a public beheading. This was a message sent to anybody within Disney who ever wants to think about pulling the shit. They did. I'm not kidding. This man was fired in 7 minutes and nobody had a clue it was going to happen.
Yep.
And it happened on a fucking Monday. Normally, doesn't this shit happen on a Friday?
It does.
Is this the Bob Chapek stuff you were talking about?
Go ahead. Sorry. What was that, Paul? I'm sorry.
Bob Chapek?
Yes.
Kick control.
Yes.
He
sent a big head rolling Monday, and it was sent a message, let's say.
And the world learned about it yesterday. But speaking of messages and learning about, Paul has to leave us. At least
Okay, do we have any?
I'll be back.
Oh, okay. So you'll be back. All right. So we'll try and save your super chats then. So if you're going to be back,
you.
we'll just do that. But
enjoy
we
yourselves.
will await you in your return.
Yes. And in the meantime, let us get into the Amber Heard news.
We'll just say we'll do Valiant's here since it's on screen. Thank you, Valiant Renegade, for being a month for 15 months at the crown level. It says Top Gun Maverick expected 45 to 50 million in third weekend. Nuts. Yeah, hopefully it hangs on to that, but we'll see with being up against JP. So yes, what is the latest on Amber? Please tell me I get to use my button. I have no idea what's going on.
First of all, everyone should also go and check out Valiant Renegade's excellent video on this on this matter here
with WD Pro, I think.
Yes, so everyone do that first. Tom, just give everyone a very brief rundown of that before we get into Amber here. Summary of the Disney news.
Oh, about price?
Yes.
Yeah, for those who didn't watch the video this morning, Monday evening, as I said, this is a rarity for the middle. Like, usually these kind of things happen at the end of the week. Usually, and Andre did a fucking beautiful job in the video today that we put out, in that he compared it to how, what was her name? Carol something or other over at Warner was let go in comparison, right? Even though the same exact thing is kind of happening over at Warner Brothers right now. Another executive over there was given a pleasant exit. I'm sure they were let know well enough in advance and let down easy. They got a really nice write-up, and all that kind of stuff. Price, on the other hand, got brought in and basically publicly executed in front of everyone in the company. And I compared it last night to basically Chapek walked in the room, shot that motherfucker in the head, and then turned to everybody else and said, "Anybody else got any problems?" And then walked the fuck out.
That reminds me more of this scene in the Phantom where Xander Drax throws a spear at the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great summary right there. But
it kind of reminded me of the scene in Kill Bill, more so. But yes, thank you, Script. That's another great example, more comic booky.
There are plenty examples of.
Well, I mean, it's specifically an executive, right? Firing someone. So.
Yeah, like I was thinking of the scene in Kill Bill where what's her face, Lucy Liu, brings up the fact that she's half American, half Chinese, or whatever. And the one guy makes a stink about it, and she jumps up and cuts his fucking head off. And she's like, if anybody else has anything to say, now's the fucking time.
Yes, and now is also the fucking time to get into Amber Heard and Aquaman, because the news making the rounds is that there has been, in the days after the verdict, a new test screening. And this test screening reportedly had more Amber Heard in it. And this has a lot of people freaking out because reportedly, remember, in earlier test screenings, her role has been cut down or had been cut down to 10 minutes.
That was according to Grace, I'm hardly ever fucking right Randolph. And remember what I fucking said when she said that too?
Yeah, I was just about to say, and you pointed out that that's probably how much they could cut her role down to before the movie stopped making sense.
And it doesn't sound like that's even the case from what you're saying from this screening, if this is true.
No, actually, I think that sounds extremely plausible. I do believe that. Because
you said it sounds like she's in the movie more than people thought.
In this most recent test screening, yes. But I've heard from elsewhere that she's only in the movie for 10 minutes. But there's multiple cuts of the movie being tested. That is the point of the test screenings. When you have multiple cuts and you want to see which one is best, what can be cut, and everything like that. And this has people freaking out. Why is she suddenly in the movie more now than she has been before? Assuming, of course, that the early reports are correct. But now we have test screenings. So she's definitely in the movie for 20 to 25 movies for those screenings. What are your first thoughts on that? That she may have a larger presence in the movie than she did a couple of screenings ago, at least as rumored. What are your initial thoughts?
Let's go with Arm first.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know what they're thinking of doing with her at this point. I mean, it seems like they're still trying to decide what's going to happen. You know, we haven't heard anything definitive, have we, one way or the other? And I always just assumed that they would just take whatever scenes she took and just change her face to someone else's face. I mean, I don't even know if that's legal and they can do that, but I just assumed that that's what they would do going forward and not even worry about, you know, how often her face appears. You know, I just assumed that the studio could do whatever they wanted to do with her figure and put another actress's face on there. So for me, that's what I would do if I were a studio executive.
Unfortunately, that's not technically the way it works.
Yeah,
and a lot of people wouldn't be faulted for thinking that, especially with the way technology works nowadays and all that kind of stuff. But for that to have happened, they would actually have to have Amber sign off on something like that. And I guarantee she wouldn't. Yeah.
And also, that would completely undermine the point, because audiences everywhere don't want a single frame of her in the movie. And having her be in the movie to only alter her face into someone else, that's not going to fly. But anyway, so yeah, that's one theory. Cultured. What do you think could be behind her suddenly having more screen time now?
I don't know. Perhaps some executive really wants to, to prop her up artificially, or is trying to prove a point that the audience doesn't respond to her.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, it could be one. It could be one or the other. And again, I mean, if let's say Zaslav was like saying, okay, well, let's screen the film before the version before we cut her or reduced her time and see how it goes. And then, obviously, I mean, this could be being done for a variety of reasons. It depends on who was motivated to get this test screening out there and who was motivated to report on it right away. Because this is one of the ways you send messages in the industry, I believe, is to, have things come out and be like, yeah, this isn't testing well. We need to, change it up so that eventually they get around to the product that they want. And with certain executives unceremoniously being removed from DC, and I know that we haven't really talked about that, I would anticipate that this further undermines the cause for getting rid of them because their opinions are terrible. So it's just those are my thoughts. Mm-hmm. But why she's in there from start to finish for 20 plus minutes is mind blowing to me, especially when it's described in public during a court case that she has no chemistry with Momoa. And, it would be fairly easy to write her out of the film. She died off screen in childbirth. Sounds good to me. Let's do that.
Well,
script.
I was gonna say script. Let's get your take. Yeah.
This strikes me as basically just Hollywood politics. I think there's already, I'm just speculating at this point, but I already think they've made the decision that they're going to reshoot and recast the Mira scenes. What they're probably going to do is say that they're looking for additional excuses to get rid of her aside from the trial. And they're using the test screen option as basically she doesn't test well. Everything that we've done and tried to make with multiple cuts, with reducing her time, with increasing her time, has not worked. So they're trying to justify it with additional reasons so that if Amber decides to retaliate in any way, or her representation tries to do anything with regards to the contract that she has, maybe there's a subclause allowing her to be the first option to reshoot those scenes if there is some sort of issue with regards to the edit. I think they're trying to explore all this in a way so that they can say, no, it's not going to work. We have to do that. And also to kind of spare a little bit of her feelings and a little bit of the social backlash by saying, yeah, we're getting rid of you, not because of the trial thing, not because of any of that. It's just the product is not working. And after multiple edits and cuts, we've determined that it's your interaction with the cast that's causing people not to respond as well as we had hoped. I think that's the political game they're playing.
That could also backfire, but I agree with you guys. Like, I think it's both. I think it's they're testing to see how bad her persona now has been sullied, and how many people now know who she is because of this, and how bad she's going to test comparative to earlier test screenings, right? For instance.
Well, they need the data that absolves them of that implication.
Exactly.
But that could blow up in their face, and Amber could be like and her team could argue, oh, now of course it's going to be that way because of how she's been painted by the media. But that's neither here nor there. I think the other side of this too, your point script that I can add to, is I think they're maybe testing multiple cuts. And I think you're right, because this is kind of what I've been hearing. The decision has pretty much already been made. They are going to recast her. They're going to reshoot those bits. But I think you're right to a point, script, and I think what you're getting at and why they're doing this is they're seeing which version of the story is going to test better, so they know exactly what they need to reshoot.
Yeah. They need to keep it as lowest as possible, and it costs almost nothing to do a test screening of an existing assembly cut or a multiple set of them, comparatively to reshooting multiple times. To try and get it right, so they're trying to play a numbers game here.
They were somewhat desperate in getting this out there, because from descriptions they released, some previs stuff along with some imagery, stuff that wasn't complete throughout the test screening. So it wasn't even fully assembled yet.
Because I don't think that they're. Because I don't think they're going to be able to avoid this public situation here. Because script, you're right to a point. They've got the data, but I think she'll use that as an argument against them. And I think either way, she's still going to publicly make a fucking stink about this.
Oh, no.
She's going to try and use
That's why they're doing this. That's why script is right. Like Tom and script, you are both right.
Yeah.
She's doing this.
Carry on, script.
Yeah, they're doing this specifically because they know she's going to retaliate.
Exactly.
They have to have as many reasons, not excuses, reasons, justifiable reasons within the business and story structure of this film to say that it was the best for the product that she's not in it, and it has to be so many reasons that her trial and her public image has to be very, very low on the totem pole. That's basically it. And the other part too is that I'm pretty sure Zaslav already knows that this and a number of other films under Hamada, because again, Hamada's the one that's been in charge for a while, are probably going to be loss leaders, because I think the ratio of success-wise since he took over is, I guess, Aquaman and Joker, and then the big bomb of Birds of Prey. Those are the three that I can think of right now. Oh wait, Shazam was mediocre, so that's kind of like a tie. So if he's like 2-1-0,
previous regime. So was Aquaman.
Yeah, he's like 2-1-1 if you're going to do sports stats here. And then we've got these next four that are coming out, which are all probably going to be. I mean, Black Adam might be good. It's missing. I mean, it's missing an antagonist. Like, is Black Adam our villain? Is he our anti-hero? Is our villain? What is he going up against? Is it humans? Is it space? We don't know. It's very vague, so it's not really well marketed. Other than it's The Rock. But there seems to be a lot of stuff on the downward trajectory with Warner Brothers with these properties on the DC side of things, to the point where Hamada is most likely going to be out. However, there is that fluke chance that if all of them somehow manage to be $1 billion takes, or at least right up to the line of that, he might secure his job. But I don't think it's a possibility, because that's a really
we're pretty much already hearing he's got one foot out the door, or being shoved out the door.
He kind of does, but he's got all those projects that are still under his his thing, right? So
so I think you're right to a point. Yeah,
Zaslav's been getting rid of people who have already tried and failed massively. Yeah, Hamada technically hasn't. He's kind of a little bit above average just on the financial side of things. If Joker did not be as successful as it was, he probably would have been out right away.
Yeah, but
you got a point there. Yeah.
But script, the studio did not benefit from Joker's success.
No, but they will the sequel, and I think script is right. I think that it might be a few months before we hear of Hamada being booted out the door. But I did bring up the Ezra Miller thing for a reason, because Brian, he did kind of.
We're not quite done with the Amber Heard thing yet.
Oh, so you want to? Okay, well, we'll hold off on that. But I was going to say,
because I think Hamada's going to be out right after his next DC film that he does, that he basically greenlighted and authorized, hits theaters. I think once that hits theaters and it's done its run, that's when he's gone.
Yeah, because right now they're not sitting too well. I don't know. Did Hamada greenlight the Batman as well, or was that somebody else?
No, that was. It came to be before him, but he was.
That was Johnsonburg.
Greenlight.
Yeah, that was
because that started as the Affleck project. That I do remember. So I know that one had an older history attached to it, and that one did not do what they were hoping it would do. But that's not even the point here, because I think you're right, Script. I think he might be able to be allowed to hang around until they see how the next few projects pan out.
I only think he's got one project, and then he's pretty much out the door.
You might be right in that respect.
And there's no reason for him to stay around. He's gone the moment Zaslav wants him gone. Like the Zaslav, he can do exactly as Chapek did. He can get him in on Monday evening and tell him, pack your things. You're not coming into the office tomorrow. He can do that. There's no reason to have him hanging around. So he is the only there reason until
is that, again, of the head of DC Films, he has reaped in the most profitable productions in his short time compared to anyone before him. Like, that's the only thing I think that's kept him around so far, is that he can actually say, listen, when I took over, Aquaman, Joker, sure, Joker didn't do too well with regards to our profits, but it's $1 billion film, and Aquaman's $1 billion film. That's $2 billion under my regime. That's closer than the 3 or 4 films that the previous regime had that didn't even cross that individually. That's a good
Aquaman wasn't his, though. It happened on his regime, but he didn't greenlight it. That was
he didn't greenlight it, but he is taking credit for having it.
Yeah, he may take credit for it,
but, as divorced from the previous regime as possible, because that was one of the notes that he said.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to the Amber Heard thing, just to conclude that, Tom and Script, you are both right.
I don't even think we're disagreeing.
No, it's exactly. But
that's what I was saying. I don't think we ever were really technically disagreeing.
But you have slightly different arguments, and they're both on the money. Right now they are testing. Let's call it the Amber Heard cuts, and there's 2 reasons for it. One is the earlier cuts, which was cut down to 10 minutes. That is how little she possibly can be in the movie before the movie makes no sense. Now, if they are reshooting anyway, which they probably will, why restrict themselves to 10 minutes? Maybe the movie will be better if they reshoot 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 minutes. But which minutes are needed? So that is why they're right now, I think, testing the whole 20-25 minute package to see which of the scenes are most necessary, which can be cut and which should be kept. That's one side of it. The other, and this is the far more important one, this is exactly as Script said, they know that Amber Heard is a crazy person who is going to go out in the media and cry foul the moment it's announced that she will no longer be in the movie. She's going to talk about victimhood, women, everything like that. She's going to try to create as much hell as possible, because that is what people with her personality disorder will do when met with resistance or when having lost a fight. And since Warner know that is going to happen, they have to prepare their cover. They can't just say, oh, you're gone because of the trial. No, they have to be able to justify everything. That's why they're the third cuts. Yeah, that's a great name for it. That is why they're testing the third cut, so that they get the very specific notes from the audience, so that they have documentation, so that they can say, look, we are well within our rights to do this. Look at the test screening. Your Q score is rock bottom. No one likes you. We can't release the movie in its current state with you. Then they can argue that within the industry. They only have to put out the press statement out there, and then she will look even more gracie. Of course, it's still bad for the movie, but it's not a disaster for the movie. So this is about covering their backs at this point. That's what they're doing. And that is why no one should freak out about a longer cut being tested right now. That cut will never be seen by any audiences anywhere other than the test audience, because I'm 99% certain that they're going to reshoot every single scene that she is in, because the movie with her in it, I think you all will agree, is quite frankly unreleasable.
Oh yeah, like with the way things were before the trial, like it had already reached like over 3 million signatures on the recast petition. After the trial, I can't imagine where it's at now. It's got to be in that 5-6 million or higher range. I mean, shit, even the replace Amber with Bruce Campbell petition was over 3 million signatures. So.
Yeah, it was approaching. A Yellow Flash did a video the other day with an update on it, on the change.org petition, and it was closing in on 6 million. He thinks it'll get to 6 million.
Well, when I took I normally would just take a screenshot before our video when we were talking about that. I made a point to go in and do the video portion of it and do video of it so you could see that this was right after the trial ended, and the counter was literally clicking up second by second. It was kind of like, wow, that's how bad this went for her. And she's gonna fuss. She's gonna make some salacious claims. She's going to blame Johnny for this whole thing. She's gonna try and turn on the studio. She's gonna say, this is exactly what I was talking about. This is exactly what's gonna happen. And really, just remember this, folks, when she starts to kick and scream, she got paid for this. The reason she's getting removed is her own doing. If she had not set this whole fucking thing in motion, it wouldn't be happening this way. The reason she's in the place she's in right now is because of Johnny, and it's her own reasons for getting removed from this movie. She is that fucking toxic at this point that, yeah, if I were her, I would just lay low, but I know better than that. I know the kind of person she is already from seeing the trial and everything else, that she is not going to let this go.
Yeah, she's not going to. Again, that would be completely against her personality disorder. And we are dealing with someone here that has, well, not we per se, but the studio is dealing with someone that now has certified personality disorders. This is not a normal person. This is someone that you can call a psycho bitch. And it's not a slur, it's a medical description.
Yeah, I don't know about the bitch part, but definitely the psycho part. Marcos wants me to check Twitter. Okay.
And Ryan, he has the comment of the day here. Amber is reaping what she shows. Usually, you shit the bed. Now the shit is hitting the fan. Yeah, that is exactly right.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to shift over to Ezra a little bit now, but that's the thing is,
yeah,
because I have been checking in with all the Aquaman stuff. Ezra just can't seem to.
Before that, we are at 4.586 million signatures. I don't know how much higher it's going to go because now.
I was going to say, I think it was already past that already. I think
No. I don't think it's ever going to reach 5 million because we've already crossed the maximum here. It's not going to be any more attention until there's like a retrial or something like that. So I don't think that this is even going to hit 5 million.
All right.
Watch, they're fortifying this.
Wow. I really do think it was over 5 million when I checked on it.
I was going to say, I could have swore it was up there already.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the Ezra thing, he can't seem to catch a break here. For those who are not,
fault, isn't it?
Yeah, as far as they're trying, or I should say, Warner can't seem to catch a break here because they're trying to deal with this Amber situation, and the Ezra thing keeps popping its ugly fucking head up. And they're getting to
just
a point.
when they were done with this round of Amber, because Amber has been a nightmare for them for 6 weeks straight now, but now that's over for the time being. So of course, then it's good that Ezra comes to take over.
I'm not so sure it's good for them because here's the thing: is I was led to believe basically what we had posited here, and that was that they're just kind of hoping at this point Ezra lays low and behaves till they can get this movie out, and hopefully enough people forget about this nonsense by the time the movie comes out, because they can't afford to reshoot this movie again. And it's starting to look like they might have to reshoot this movie again because this kid has got...
If you give him too much time, he's just going to make things worse.
Yep. Well, he didn't even do this. Well, I mean, he did, but I mean, he didn't actually bring this like to his. This wasn't him acting out again. This was parents of an individual claiming that he has been grooming somebody since they were 12 years old.
Wow.
This is something that's really going to kick them in the ass. They cannot dodge this one. That's my point. This is going to fucking cripple the movie. They are going to have to Back to the Future this thing, Andre. I'm predicting it now.
Yeah, because of all of the accusations against him so far, or against they so far, which is
this should not even be that funny read by
called.
Nature. Jesus Christ.
Of all the things they has been accused of, this is the worst. I mean, throwing a chair in a woman's head, that's one thing. I mean, basically, the state of Hawaii isn't terror of this guy. He's terrorizing the whole state. I mean, if you had 10 of him, he'd do more damage than any volcano ever has. But this is the worst. This is him grooming someone from the age of 12.
Yeah.
We even have a situation here where he took them out of the country, and I don't know how much the parents are involved in this aspect of it, because they're the ones who are out making the claims here now. Now,
yeah,
I don't know
to which island was it that he was taking her?
Well, I don't know about that. It was actually, I think it was England he took her to, or something like that.
Oh,
but
the island of England could be worse than.
But now Culture, I don't know if you've done any research into this or not, but I know we discussed a little bit last night because Fat Steven and a few other people had picked up on an individual who had been making some claims against Ezra. Now, is this the same girl that the parents are talking about, or is this something completely different?
I was under the assumption that it was the same person, but reflecting back, and again, I haven't reached out to Fat Steven. That was on my list of to-dos this morning.
Because if not, we're looking at already like 3 or 4 individuals who've been involved with him.
Yeah,
I mean, making similar kind of claims. If this is the case,
yeah, I believe she was a Hawaiian native.
Still Hawaii.
Yeah, so it's very no, but I'm saying the other person that Fat Steven was talking about, it's just insane. If this is more than one person, this is so bad for him and for Warner Brothers and for this film. And Tom, I think you may be right. This may be Back to the Future real soon.
I don't think they can avoid it at this point. And this is what I was saying last night. And, you know, Cameron has talked about how, you know, they may never release Indiana Jones 5. And I'll make the argument that's not going to happen. They've spent too much money. This is one of those situations where they're kind of stuck in a corner now where they've spent too much money on this movie that they can't not release it. But you're stuck in a point where, do you spend the extra $100 million now to reshoot this movie again to get another actor in here to play the role? Or do you chance it and just chalk it up as a fucking loss and throw it out there anyway and know it's going to just completely fail? Because that's where they're at right now. You cannot. This is a PR fucking nightmare. If you thought Amber Heard was a nightmare, this just went from like Code Red to 11.
Well, this is DEFCON 2 right now.
Exactly, DEFCON 2. Yeah. This is like fucking, we're done. This is it. You cannot deal with this anymore. You guys have got to get this kid out of the situation. And now they've already been, and this is what I was told, again, so take it with a grain of salt. They were already trying to dodge the fact that they are trying to recast him for future appearances. Mm-hmm. Now they're looking at a situation where they're going to have to recast this kid for this movie. They're just going to have to. Yeah. There's no ifs and buts about it.
There is a third option they can do. It's
what's that?
It's slightly cheaper, but it's still not ideal, which is that you cut up all the scenes that don't involve the Flash and you amortize that over an HBO Max, several HBO Max series with regards to like Ben Affleck's Batman appearance, the Supergirl appearance, Keaton's appearance. You just weave those in, what they said, what they did, into stories that you can put on HBO Max, where you salvage what is shot from the movie and then you just thread it through another.
You kind of rewrite it, but replace the Flash with another character is kind of what you're saying.
No. You just don't even use the Flash. You just say, okay,
I know that, but I'm saying
no. Hear me out. So let's just say there's another multiverse story on an HBO Max series, and a new character, another character, not the Flash, just another character crosses over and talks with the Michael Keaton Batman in the Flash, and they just use that footage and lines, and they just use clever editing, no two shots of them together, basically over the shoulder things. It's done very cheap, and you just put it out that way out of like a Hail Mary. It's like, oh, like, at least we didn't lose the full 200 and some odd million that we spent on this. We just managed to do this for a $60 million HBO Max Crisis series without the Flash, just other characters, and you just completely cropped them all out all the way through.
That's pretty much what I was saying. Is you kind of like how, you know, they cobbled together the American version of Godzilla by shooting Raymond Burr's stuff and then using the other stuff around it. Like it just kind of served its purpose in that sense. And that's what I'm saying.
Like
you bring in like a Blue Beetle or something like that. Yeah.
Like a twisted Carrie Fisher, The Rise of Skywalker. They used the J.J. Abrams scenes that didn't make the cut, and they just threaded those through and wrote a story around them. Not the greatest thing to do. Someone in the chat said, "Hey, Booster Gold. Booster Gold would be a great character you could use
you could do it. That's what I mean. Yeah, do a different character. Yeah.
Do a different do a Booster Gold HBO Max series, and then just shoot the simple stuff for him, and then just thread those other things in there. Even if you have to have it like Booster Gold throws up. Skeet is one of his buddies. He does a holographic thing, and they holographically project all the other multiverses, which are just other footage that they shot from that film in there. What they can't use it in a normal conversation or plot.
Man,
the problem I see there, Script, is you're gonna have to do so much rewriting and reconfiguring that the amount of money and time and effort put into that, it'd probably be just as easy to reshoot it with another actor.
You're looking at around about $200,000 on the writing front of things, and then about 30 to 40 million on a 6 or 7 part HBO Max miniseries to do it, which still is pretty big, but it's cheaper than a $200 million production.
Go ahead, Culture, because I know you got to leave here soon.
I got to go, but it's a disappointment no matter what. You're admitting failure in both instances, Script. I mean, it doesn't even get anywhere close to saving any kind of face. I understand, and I agree with you. I would love to see that kind of a show work into it, you know, HBO Max. I just they really can't afford to put that there.
Well, they also can't afford to reshoot the entire movie, right? And all I can say is, like, Zack Snyder sure knows how to pick them. So,
well, that's the beauty of this.
Like, that's the thing, right?
Is that this is not pretty much anybody who made this decision is out the door at this point. That's the beauty of that. So nobody's ego is really going to be hurt outside of maybe Ezra Miller's. And I know you got to leave your Culture, but I see that as kind of like I see what you're saying, Script, but I think that they can't really do that at this point, because they at least got the out that this is a situation they've got to get themselves out of.
Exactly, because it's going to be very difficult. Like, again, it's just a third option, but it's really, really difficult to reorganize your marketing of a theatrical release.
Exactly.
HBO Max series as a miniseries. Like, but the thing is, the options are there. The fact of the matter is, which is the cheapest, which is the one that allows them to not have to because all those sets from The Flash, they're destroyed. They don't exist anymore. They can't go back and they have to rebuild them again. So if you have to reshoot the movie, you literally have to reshoot, I would say, 80 to 90% of the film. And you really don't want to do that on the stagecraft, because the studios that have it, because the Warner Brothers doesn't quite really have it, they do lease it out, but they are getting built when they lease it out by all the other studios. So it would be cheaper of them to kind of reshoot the movie than to have to rent those. It's like, it's a very, on the accounting side of things, it's basically going to cause people to self-delete in the accounting office trying to figure out the numbers to make this work at this point. So what they really should have done, they should have launched it. They should have dropped the Flash movie 3 weeks before Top Gun Maverick, and they would have been fine.
You're probably right, Script. In that respect, definitely.
Well, I look forward to listening to you folks.
All right, Culture. Take care, sir.
And I will hopefully see some of you later after this stream is over on my Friday pre-flight. Thank you, everybody here.
Thank you, Culture.
Take care, Culture.
Bye, Culture.
Take care. Thanks for joining us.
Love you guys. Peace out.
But yeah, no, I think at this point, like, that's the thing is, you could do what Script's saying, but I don't think that option's open to him anymore. It's too publicly known. It's too.
I think in this situation, every option is open.
It could be, but I think that at this point, I think what will happen is they'll reevaluate what they have to do to basically Michael J. Fox this thing. What do they have that they can still use? What are they going to... The beauty of it is at least they're not going to... Unlike Back to the Future, with technology now, and you can thank George Lucas for this, for starting doing this way back with Phantom Menace, where he could actually use multiple different takes of the same scene from actor and work them in together. They're going to be able to reuse a lot of what they've already shot. They're just going to have to cut him out of it and insert the actor that they pick and choose to. So they're going to be able to get around that much and reuse all the footage that he's not in. But we have a problem, and this is what you've heard, Andre, and everybody else has been told in the situation. Since he's playing so many different versions of himself, he is literally in almost every single scene.
And basically, what you're talking about is cutting out the supporting actors in their 10 scenes and making a new movie around that.
It could happen
Pretty
that
much.
way.
That's the thing. Also, again, this is like the third time, because wasn't the Army of the Dead Zack Snyder thing? He cast an actor in that, and then that actor had a scandal and he had to reshoot it. So he's 3 strikes right there. This guy.
Zack Snyder, you mean?
Zack Snyder, listen, just on he knows how to pick them. And again, if he was allowed a casting director or compelled to have a casting director instead of being the casting director and films director himself, you probably would have avoided those 3 issues over those 3 franchises. Just this putting it out there. It's like, you can like Zack Snyder, which I'm perfectly happy if you are, but give him a casting director and don't let him have the final say, because he clearly has picked 3 of the most contentious people in the industry over the last few years.
I seriously would like to hear his defense. Like, why did he have to choose those mad people?
I know, right?
Well, because again, he has a very dark and sinister take on these types of characters, and so now we have these 3 people with very peculiar personalities that can fulfill that vision. And the other part,
they fulfilled it a little bit too well.
Here's the other part. How is Warner Brothers going to react that a fan favorite Oscar actor, fan favorite Oscar winning, the first one, if a Flash scene won a fan favorite Oscar, which is associated with Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers, how are they going to react when if they have to recast him and remove him from that film, when you have all these fans that said, no, this is our favorite moment in that Zack Snyder Justice League cut? And how are they going to reconcile that? They're basically going to have to say, yeah, he had an Oscar, but it's of a character or an actor that's not very good. So how do we have to just hide this? Do we try to hope people forget about it? Because you do know that some of the people on the not so much activists, but the ones that fight for against these types of people or against this type of behavior are going to bring that up to their studio constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And double back again, this is something that's brought up quite a bit since this has been talked about, and I wish CC was able to stick around because I think he would have backed me up on this. You can't afford to send this to streaming. That's the problem. This is not like the Snyder Justice League cut, where they only spent another $70-80 million to get that up and running. This is a situation where they are literally going to have to reshoot this movie again. It has cost so much money. Now, the original budget was $100 million. We already know they've done a bunch of reshoots on it, which we have no idea how much those cost. I have heard rumors that this movie's price tag is already in the $250 million range.
It's going to be one of the biggest bombs ever made.
That's the thing is, at this point, they can't afford to put it on streaming, and you almost have to roll the dice at this point and reshoot it with somebody else and hope to God that they can make their money back if this thing just touches $1 billion. And it might be able to do that. Because here's the other thing that I was at least getting to before was, at least when Ezra was just throwing chairs and choking bitches, like at that point, the worst you had to do is go, okay, yeah, people aren't going to like him, but Michael Keaton's in this. So that'll help sell this movie. Now that line is blurred. You can't rely on that. And I think
the only thing you do now is taint Michael Keaton.
Exactly. And so that's where they're stuck in a position where you're gonna have to Back to the Future this thing, no matter which way you look at it. You have to get this guy out of this movie.
Which
no matter
is essentially you're looking at kind of a parallel budget and reshoot schedule to The Rise of Skywalker, because that movie was reshot essentially twice. But I don't think it's going to have the box office numbers comparatively.
I think you're right. I think this is going to be a combination of The Rise of Skywalker and Justice League all over again. I think it's going to get pushed back another 6 months to a year.
It's already a year, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's already not out till next year. Yeah, exactly. So it's going to get pushed back again because they are going to have to reshoot this whole fucking thing.
It's going to be so expensive by the end there.
Exactly.
But again, you know what they can get away with here?
What's that?
All the people who were behind it are already gone.
That's what I started with. Yeah,
exactly. And that was a very, very good point. Which means, can they? Well, they technically they can afford it. And here's like the thing: they can go to accounting and they can say, look at the people who's already fired. It was their fault. They can go to the board and say, look at the people that did this before, but I fired them. And then they're just going to have to accept it at some cost.
To a degree, but then you also have the rumors of the DC Black Label and the person who's being put in charge of that, and it's like, well,
if that's even really a thing, we're still not sure.
Yeah, exactly. If that ends up being a thing, it would be a very, I would say it's a good and bad. It's like a good thing that they want to do a DC Black Label if they want to do that. I think that's awesome because you can have a lot of fun with that.
But speaking of Snyder, Snyder actually has one defense.
Snyder. Yeah.
Yes, Snyder has one defense though, because he can say, "Yeah, I cast those people, but they weren't that nuts when I did. I didn't know that Amber was shitting beds. I didn't know that Ezra was busy grooming 12-year-olds. He can hide behind that. Now we know, and then he can also say, "I cast them then. They worked fine for what I did. It was you guys. It was Amada. It was Sarnov. They were the ones that reused them after knowing how nuts they were."
He could do that, except the third guy in Army of the Dead. There have been rumors for about 8 years that he'd been doing that type of stuff. Everybody knew about it, and Zack still put him in his movie and then had to recast him. So he definitely can hide behind ignorance.
He can, but that's what I mean. Because that's a larger thing. But then he might also like say objection, relevance, because for where Warner is concerned, he can hide behind that. There were no scandals with those people in his movies. They came later.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely did come later. But if I was in Zaslav's position, be like, you know what? Let's assume that yes, you did not know. That's why we're going to make sure you have a casting director, because it's their job to know these things.
Yeah, that I agree with. That we'll give you a chance, but you lose your casting privileges.
That actor in Army of the Dead, I think he was put in. He was doing a weird show temporarily called Love, which is kind of like Dexter, but not. Anyways, that's when kind of the scandal kind of really elevated, and the casting director found out and was like, we got to wrap up this thing fast with him and get him out, because their little show is going to be hurt greatly by it, and it kind of was. And that was a few years before Army of the Dead was even considered an idea. Because I remember that's this actor from the Whitney sitcom series, Whitney Cummings, and I'm like, this guy's weird. Like something doesn't register with me on him, and then you start hearing the rumors afterwards, and like, oh, there it is. And if I'm this little guy who's not 100% in the industry, who bounces in between mainstream and indie, and
if you've heard about it, then,
if I've heard about him, like it's very difficult for someone on the levels of a Zack Snyder to have not heard this stuff. So
yeah. But Horseradish Power has a great question here. Wouldn't it be cheaper just to scrap the Flash? It would if they could get away with cashing in on some insurance, but I'm not sure that this is covered in that respect.
No, this is not gonna. There's no insurance for your main star.
Exactly.
Is grooming. There's no
exactly.
There's no insurance.
Welcome, Paul. Yeah, that usually covers like accidental deaths and other things like that and stuff like that. And if something were to happen that was really like, because the movie's already been shot, that's the problem. So it's not like usually the insurance kicks in if it's before the movie is finished filming. So
yeah, at this point, the cost is already there. They can, in principle, release the movie, and then insurance is going to say, "Not our problem."
Exactly. And welcome back, Paul. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah,
you landed a job. Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
very good.
Excellent. And I'm glad that you're back again, because I regrettably have to drop out here. But don't worry about that, because we still have a great panel here. Tom, you have all the super chats, and
as far as I know,
I'll be back later if you're still going.
I can replace the person with the European accent. So when Andre is gone, I can replace him and be.
It's like some odd Italian
No, that's Hungarian. What are you talking?
That's Hungarian.
Yeah. Oh, is it Hungarian? Okay.
Let's not defend either the Italians or the Hungarians.
I was trying to figure it out.
The difference is that Hungarians emphasize the four syllable every vowel.
Okay, now I'm hearing it a little bit more. All right. Well, we'll hopefully have you back here, Andre.
Yes. All right. Andre.
Dakaiju Gamer says, have you guys seen the Apple Plus documentary Prehistoric Planet? No, I haven't, but I've heard a bit about it. I enjoyed it, and the paleo art community keeps singing its praises. Now, anybody else here on the panel seen it or not?
I have not
seen it.
No.
I haven't. But thank you for the recommendation. I do like dinosaurs.
I hear Chris Pratt in it is great.
Yeah, I'll put Chris Pratt in it, and it'll be even better. Alan Octavian Moldovan says, hello, panel. The only animation I'm looking for is Cyberpunk Edge Runners Studio Trigger Dose, or does wonderfully shows, or is it Trigger Dose? I don't know. I have no idea because I'm not a gamer. I'm so sorry.
Maybe Trigger does wonderful shows. Also, Ito Junji Horror Stories for 23.
There you go. Talking about the animation company, I'm assuming, from when we were talking about Netflix shutting down their animation department, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably what that's referring to. But I'm not 100% on that, Alan, but thank you for the donation. And then we have Nicholas Horton, who says, I bet Hordak will get sidelined in season 2, like Skeletor got cucked in season 1, and Shadow Weaver will probably be the new big bad. Maybe, but I don't know if they can. I don't know if Shadow Weaver falls into the both can use it category or character or not. Because Hordak they can, but some of the other She-Ra characters after Hordak and certain members of the Horde they cannot because of the licensing separation. And we are getting a live action She-Ra series over on Amazon that's not related to any of this stuff. So I'll be curious to see how Hordak factors into that. But there's nothing to really lead us to believe that Hordak will show up in season 2 of Mo2 Revolution, or not yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ties into the sequel or a prequel comic. He will show up, but we'll see. I'm not sure. I think Shadow Weaver was one of the characters created after the fact, though, so I'm not sure she would be able to be used. And I don't know if anybody else knows anything more than me on that, so
probably not. You're way deep into the.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure she was created with She-Ra and all that stuff, and she was not a part of the original Horde. But I could be wrong. I'd have to.
Well, I mean, it just depends on the Secret of the Sword stuff, because that was kind of the pilot to She-Ra, but also a He-Man episode.
Yeah, but see, the Horde was created before She-Ra was even a thing, because that was meant to be the next phase after the Snake Men in the He-Man bad guys.
I'm at a loss if we want to get into Clutch Cargo lore or Johnny Quest lore. Then I'm your dude.
But the thing was, the short version is when Filmation got involved, that's when the characters became finalized outside of like She-Ra. She-Ra was kind of in place before, but they gave him all the background, created all the other characters. Filmation.
I guess that's a different group than Funimation is the anime people.
And at that point, a lot of those characters then are completely under a different license, so that's why there's a separation there. But kind of like the old Spider-Man deal, where there's characters that cross over that are Avengers and whatnot, and certain things. Same thing with X-Men and all that stuff before Disney bought Fox. The Horde does cross over, but only a few characters, and that's it. And I'm not sure she's one of them. But I'd have to do check on that. And then Fear Sundown says, is it possible He-Man season 2 was already made? One split into 2 and save costs, and they sat on until the heat died down from season 1. No, this is new. This is totally new. They did that at the time. Even Kevin said it was all made, and they split it up on purpose, kind of like they did with season 4 of Stranger Things. And I don't remember if you were on the mead when we were talking about this or not, Script Doctor, but I think they're getting ready to test out a non-binge model, since they're probably going to have to introduce some kind of advertising model.
Well, or at least maintain. Well, I mean, a non-binge model allows them to retain more subscribers longer, because you draw out the show over a couple of months, and that compels the people that are interested in that show to maintain their subscription for those months. With regards to Motu season 2, I bet they were already in pre-production or script writing phase when the second half was already dropped.
Yeah, in that respect, yes.
It just makes sense financially to keep the engine moving, even after that. But the first half of that season, I mean, the numbers were very good, but the reception was mixed and not ideal, of course. But I think that's when they got the go-ahead to say, hey, let's start with the breaking down season 2 and the next part, because it's cheaper to do that because you already have them in your company and you already have them doing the advertising for it. Why not just tack on that second season now and get ahead of it in the eventuality where they suspected, the second half would blow people away, and unfortunately it didn't. But it's, again, the machine was going too far, and Netflix is known to do this. They'll just play it out and then not renew the third season, or if they do it for 3 seasons, not renew the fourth.
Well, Netflix released some data that showed that none of their series did well in the second iteration, and if they had a third, it was just a complete waste.
Yeah. They used the same aggregate that the networks used for their weekly debut, and that's kind of where they saw their fall off hit, because there's a handful of shows that on Netflix that did get canceled that in their third season that were actually quite well written and very entertaining. But again, no one cares because if they're not in the conversation and they're not self-advertising themselves through the audience, they're not going to register and they're not going to be successful shows.
I don't understand the binge model. I think it was good at the beginning of Netflix's ascension because it made them unique.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they need to completely abandon it. I mean, I don't have a problem watching Strange New Worlds every week.
Well, the irony is that because it's an on-demand service, you can always binge at the end of a season's run. Like, it's already there.
Of course, but there's something kind of neat not binging too.
Yes.
I mean, but again, I come from a non-binging, as everyone here, we all come from network television experience, and there's a certain joy in anticipating Frasier coming up Thursday.
We want to see what Eddie does next, right? Everybody loved the dog.
and I think people like that. I think people, the worst thing is getting tickets to a vacation immediately and then going. You're way better off getting the tickets to a vacation months in advance, and then part of the vacation is the anticipation.
I agree. Yeah, and I hate the binge model. I'm not a fan of it at all.
No. I think it sucks, and I think it's hurting Netflix. But
it's basically exploiting the catharsis of instant gratification, but at the same time, you feel empty afterwards because you're either exhausted from having watched the entire series in a single day, but then you're like, I have nothing to look forward to now. and that's the other part too. One of the things I always had issues with, and where I was pitching series in LA for shows, is like, can this be a binge thing? And I'm like, well, you're gonna kill the audience on a binge model, because part of the reason why some of the shows that you would consider mundane now, like let's say for instance Friends, I found that a mundane comedy, but the reason it was so popular is, number one, it had an affable cast. It was weekly, and as it got into later seasons where they actually made it less episodic and more over like a season arc type of thing with regards to relationships, it really exploited the gossip and the potential of the audience. And one of the key factors in marketing is that your audience does a lot of the work for you once you actually present your marketing campaign. If it hits the entrance, the audience will talk about it. They'll share it with their friends. They'll say, please go watch this. I loved it, whatever. And if you can't really exploit that on a binge model over the longer term comparatively.
Yeah, I mean, when I was doing network TV, one of the specific things we talked about was we called it the water cooler.
The water cooler shows, yeah.
The water cooler shows. Mm-hmm. That was a specific thing we talked about. Is this episode going to be a water cooler episode? It airs, and then the people at work talk about it.
Yeah.
And that thought process.
It's more of a shared experience that way too.
Yes. And because they didn't have social media, that was where people shared their experience.
Yeah.
but it's a mindset too that's been lost. And I think you can create shows that exploit that. And right now, network television is in the doldrums, partly because they've completely lost that thing that they had when they were doing $6 Million Man, My Mother the Car, Time Tunnel, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Great shit. And it was fun. And that fun is gone. And most of it has not even been transplanted to streaming.
Yeah.
It's funny, this entire thing about network TV that was so great. Script?
The other part too is that it also hurts the production as well, because your production is now on this narrow schedule of a portion of the year, where if you were working on a television show, and whether it be a 13 episode season or a 22 episode season, you are pretty much guaranteed to work the vast majority of that year on that one show. But the way the structure is now with the binge model, you got 3 months of writing, and then you have 3 months of production. And during that production, a lot of the writers aren't even involved in as they would be as showrunners on set or on production.
Correct.
So they're not really getting paid during that half year. So as soon as they're done writing that, they're doing the binge model, writing that show, they're off looking for another job for the next 8 to 9 months. And that makes it really difficult, because now when they do get that job, they're compressing the development of the story, the allowance of ideas to digest and become better refined. They're trying to compress that into a tighter frame, and as a result, we're getting poorly written episodes of television on the streaming side of things, because they don't have that extra day, really just that extra day, to think about what they broke down initially and be like, you know what, we see a flaw here, we can make that better, we can punch that up, we can do that, because we actually have that 24-hour period to do it.
So one of the things I loved doing in Hollywood was going to live tapings of shows. And you would literally, let's say Family Ties, I was at a taping, a scene would be shot, they would stop it, they would come back, and they'd have new fucking jokes. Because they would, the writers, as the scene was playing out in front of our audience being taped, they'd go, this is not working the way we thought it should. And they are writing like mad fools new sides to give to the actors. And when they reshoot it, it's got new stuff. I mean, and Cheers did it. I saw a Cheers taping where they were doing that. And so you don't have that, one. Number two is, when you first land a series, maybe you would get a 10 to 14 episode deal. And by the first few weeks, you would get an idea of which way the show was going, because every new show is just a guess. With all the expertise in the world, the great producers, everyone involved, it's still a guess. And then, for instance, Family Ties, they did not expect what's his name, Michael J. Fox, to blow up.
They did not expect it to be his show. They thought it was going to be about the parents. And
it was about her. She was the star. Meredith Baxter Birney was the star of the show, and it was going to be about, the parents. And then he blew up, and after 10 episodes, the network said, you're all going to start rewriting the episodes and concentrate on Michael J. Fox. And so they were able to make a course correction in the middle of the season. One interesting side note on Family Ties. You know why Meredith Baxter Birney was one of the highest paid female actors in sitcom? Because in her contract, she had it that no one else in the show could make more than her. So when Michael J. Fox blew up and got his multi-million-dollar contract, she had to get the same contract.
Good agent.
You were going to say something before.
And a good bit of trivia. Sorry.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, when the series The Walking Dead came out initially, and they kind of had where they broke up their shows, 8 shows in the fall and then 8 shows in the spring. I kind of liked that. It wasn't so different from what we would normally get on television. it was a lot fewer shows. I mean, that's the trend that we've seen, and I think Script and Paul already mentioned it. We are seeing less shows than you would normally see in a let's say a television produced show.
Yeah.
But when they decided to break it up into a fall and a spring release, it didn't feel so different from the way that the networks were doing it. And I can understand why they did that. They released that first spring set of series, the first 8 series, and then if it didn't do well, maybe they could even not bother releasing the second one in the spring, so to speak. So that gave them the option to be able to pull out if they needed to, or maybe even sell those episodes later on to somebody else if they wanted to. So it kind of makes sense, but it also gives people time to kind of look at these series. Like think about the sense that it makes for you to release 8 series from September to November. And then maybe some adults didn't have time to watch these episodes. You can watch them during Christmas. And then you can kind of get a final, idea as to how the series was received, or at least those first 8 episodes. I think it's a very clever way of doing that. Traditionally these networks would go ahead and give us Christmas programming or holiday programming or whatever you want to call it. But I think that their approach of those 8 episodes doing that, and of course it wasn't all 8 episodes at once. It was a weekly release, but I thought it was very clever. And I think that that's maybe the most ideal model now. At least when I look for a series going forward. Stranger Things is very different series release for me because of the high quality of what they released. Just let's say in this last particular for season 4, the episodes were such a high quality and so long and have so much information material, but they took 3 years. It took them 3 years to make this. So I think that that's also something to think about. They do need time to make these series worthwhile watching versus just throwing it out according to a schedule. I don't think that fantasy of meeting those schedules is ideal when we're asking, or audiences are demanding, much more complicated and entertaining shows.
No, you got a point when it comes to something like say Stranger Things or something like that. That's kind of shot on a filmic level. Let's say, I don't know if that's exactly a word, but I'm making it a
cinematic
word.
Probably would be.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Script, for your fancy word play there. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, you're right. Cinematic level. I mean, that's one thing. You're right. But in most cases, TV is set up to be able to be shot quick. And the way it's set up, it's also meant to be in a model that, like you guys said, you can adjust on the fly a little bit easier. It's not as complicated usually as filmmaking, and you amortize any of your bigger stuff throughout the season, right? Like that's another part of it. But when it comes to normal, like one camera comedies and sitcoms and dramas and cop dramas and things of that nature, there's no excuse reason or excuse other than the high cost of some of these actors. And I think partially the binge model is the reason for it, as to why we get so many smaller seasons now comparatively to what we used to get. We used to get 24 episodes a season, no problem. Hour-long dramas, even the Hulk. We got 20-some episodes for those, like that used to be a season. When we started getting cut down with the premium series with like HBO and some of these cable networks doing it, it was kind of neat to see some of those things, but at the same time, it feels like you're losing a little bit of that. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing Netflix go to this, and they're not going to kill the binge model when it comes to bringing on older shows. But I do see them getting to a point where the binge model is not something that's viable anymore in a world where they have to, A, keep subscribers longer, as Script pointed out, B, also have some kind of advertising model so they can actually see how these shows are doing so they know how they can sell the advertising on them. And D, it also puts them in a position where even if you do have shows that are coming from the network, you can start adding them a couple days or a day after they air, as opposed to waiting until the entire season's done. So there's another additional possibility there.
I think the advertising model makes a terrific amount of sense.
Yeah.
For no other reason than it will resurrect old shows. Whereas an old show on Netflix right now that suddenly gets, popular again offers no more revenue.
That's right.
Netflix.
Exactly.
Whereas pardon me?
Well, I've been predicting this actually for years. I basically said the way
you
that
beat me.
yeah, the way that the streaming services, especially with Netflix model, is that they're essentially going to become this version of your cable package. You're going to be having to buy a whole bunch of services and end up paying more like a cable package. But on top of that, people are going to be dodging quickly because you're not going to be able to make more money than whatever the subscription fee is. So either you put your service in two precarious situations. They either increase the subscription fee, which risks losing subscribers, or you go to the network model, which is the superior model, which is you write such good shows that you essentially have a bidding war for companies to buy ad time in the commercial breaks. And the other part too is you also compel writers to bring up their A game, and we also get back to a bit more consistent. And I use the term formulaic because again, formula is really good for story. It's how well do you hide it,
how it's executed and all that,
in that way. Because I've noticed this, especially on some of the network side of things, but also on streaming, that you have something that's kind of advertised essentially as like an hour-long drama or an adventure show or what have you, and it's 36 minutes. And I'm thinking that's not an hour long. If it was on network television, you had 24 minutes of ads, maybe. But you really shouldn't. If you're going to be having this type of budget, if you're going with this type of narrative, you're going to be having to do shows that are part of like a 5-act structure, be it a sitcom or a drama, and that has a time to it. Like your first act is 9 minutes, your second act is 7 minutes, your third act is 7 minutes, and that's how it's broken up. And that constraint causes you to get the best out of those limited time frames as you possibly can. But on the binge model, on the streaming side of things, with no advertising or no commercial breaks or no act breaks, you have drawn out scenes that are not necessarily there. You have dialogue that goes on that doesn't necessarily need to be said. There's abundance without value, so to speak.
Well, I mean, is a tyranny writing multiple mini cliffhangers before commercials? It's not something that I'm a fan of when I wrote. It's tough to do.
Oh, it is, yeah. Because the last thing you want is after a commercial, the number one, your audience to forget what were they watching because the commercial was more entertaining than the show, and number two, not sold in that first little bit, and then flip the channel to something that actually has a way better hook, so to speak, on what you're interested in at that moment.
Right. Yeah. And Star Trek TOS always had the great music before the commercial, where the mini hook and then do.
Well, we're seeing that now playing out with Orville, right? Because that's on Hulu, which is a commercial model. So they still write the show in that way.
They still have commercials on Hulu?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think you can get a version without it, but the show is
premium without it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the show is set up in that way. And Hulu's model has always kind of been built around that. And that's how they've been able to stay cheap.
Strange New Worlds is written that way.
Oh yeah. But that's not surprising either.
Yeah. Was
yes.
That's such a nightmare. I can't remember.
Yes, it was. Cause all these shows also are kind of set up in a way so they can move them on to television if need be.
Gotcha.
So that's the thing. And like they did try running that first season of Discovery on CBS and it failed miserably.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah. So, but we do have to get to some of these super chats. I'm so sorry, guys. You guys have been patient.
Tom, what do you have on the screen there, Tom? What is that?
Well, this is what this super chat has to do with. Callum Wild tagged me in a clip from the CGI HeMan on Twitter. There was no real context to this other than you can't stop Havoc. I don't know if I can show the whole clip, but
he's got space motorcycles.
Yeah. It looks interesting for those who are into it. I'm just not into this kind of style of animation. And
it fits this.
I'm not a fan of these upgrades, but this is not my He-Man, so I'm cool with that, I guess. I mean,
and this is the He-Man series, the other He-Man series.
Not the CGI one, yeah. And this one's been received a little bit better by some of the fan base. I will admit that, but it's just not my thing. You know, I'm just not like into that.
It does seem like it is more geared towards a young adult crowd.
Yes.
Which is fine too.
Yeah, it's definitely made for a younger crowd. Warwolf wanted to know what projects he was after. Well, if Andre gets back here, I'll bring that up again, Warwolf, so I'll save that one here in the back. Callum Lyle says it'll fail. Also, Tom, can you do a Hordak voice? Let me think. I'm trying to remember Hordak. Hordak is kind of like this. Something like that, if I remember right. It's been a while since I've watched some She-Ra.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, thank you for that, Calamile. Hopefully I did well. And Calamile wants to know, are you on Twitter?
I'm trying to get on. I had an account maybe when Twitter first came out that was for academics. So, you know, you don't want to see all the academic stuff. I'm going to create one just for doing stuff. So yeah, I'm going to get on Twitter, Callum. I will. I promise. But right now I'm not.
All right.
So, but when I
probably better off, to be honest with you.
Well, Nina has been asking me just to get on it because sometimes she and Lorraine, you want to send tweets out, so that we can share it and be on the same page, and I totally get that. So
even if you at least do it just for like that, that's kind of where I do it, unless I get a bored and then I'll go out there and start some shit. But
Twitter is where you get into trouble.
Exactly, that's my problem.
Yeah, I have a post-it note saying, "Don't respond to anybody."
That's a good post-it note to have.
Well, initially for academics, it was great because you could do research projects and kind of solicit help on Twitter, and it was very helpful kind of tool to do that. But
it's become a cesspool now, though. That's the problem.
It's a difficult. I mean, I throw some controversial jokes up there, and I run away.
I interact with Twitter as I would if everybody were 5 feet away from me. And that's my rule. It's like
that's probably a good rule too. I wish I was that smart. My problem is it's fine with me until I have a little time on my hands, like if I'm waiting for Andre or something like that, and then somebody says something that gets my attention. And 6 is not totally wrong. I don't usually start the shit, but I like to end it, or at least come in and be a shit stirrer. So,
but
no, I'm the one that usually starts stuff.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that.
I promise you, Callum. I'm gonna, and I apologize, script. I promise you, Callum. When I do get on Twitter, I will let you know.
Yeah, but yeah, I use it now more so just to communicate than anything. If not,
it's a great place to put jokes. I mean, you don't know what's happening in Ontario, but I wrote with our conservative Ford, Doug Ford in power now. At least we don't have any euthanasia laws. We can just send our old folks to one of our long-term care homes because we lost 6,000 people during COVID in one of the private long-term care homes. So
yeah, run by another former premier.
Yes, Mike Harris, but no one here would know that joke. So yeah, it's a great place for jokes.
Kevorkian would do well.
He would.
Mega Wing Zero sends in $10 and says, "Who will save their company first? Darkseid, Zaslav, or Chapek Thanos?"
So Darkseid Zaz thing. Catch me up on that. So Chapek, is he pulling a Zaslav?
Well, he pulled in Monday evening. He pulled in Price into his office and said, "Get the fuck out."
And what are the implications of that?
This is one of the guys who I guess was mainly behind, or one of the big champions behind, the "Don't Say Gay" walkout. And not only that, he was supposedly positioning himself to take over Chapek's role.
Wow, I love politics.
Yeah, so
the fact that I've never heard of him shows that he's never actually probably worked in the entertainment aspect of things, but probably another part of Disney.
He is evidently. I know you haven't heard of him, Script, but I did a little research on the guy. But evidently, he does have some inroads with a lot of important people. He was being courted by Warner Brothers. Zaslav wanted him, and he told Zaslav no because he was under the impression that he had this long-term contract with Disney. So that also puts this firing in a very dark light for this man. Basically, like I said, he pulled him in and he executed him in front of everybody in the company to send a fucking message. Like this was a big. Like, you want to fuck with me? Kind of thing.
That's weird, though. If he is contentious and Zaslav was interested in him, that shows that maybe Zaslav's getting some bad information.
It was just one of the people who's on the table because this guy's been through Fox, Disney. I don't know how successful he is, but he's well known. And he's obviously well beloved. And you're right, Script, in that respect. He's obviously well beloved by the woke factor because they were shocked.
Oh wait, wait, did he come into Disney by way of Fox? Like part of the Fox buyout? Oh, yes. Okay. Because Fox, the reason Fox was sold is number one.
But it sounds like he's fostered a lot of this division inside the company.
I'm wondering if he was one of the people that tried to lobby to take over Fox before the sale, because the original owner, who's escaping me right now, didn't want to give it to his kids because he thought his kids were incompetent.
Murdoch?
Murdoch, yeah, that was it. I'm wondering if he fought for position to head it.
Could have been that guy.
Murdoch, and Murdoch said no anyways, and he just got kind of...
This Price guy sounds like he's a little snake. So he got caught is what happened. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Yeah. Anyway, this goes on. Darkseid Zaslav, or Darkseid Zaslav, sorry, has a big lead, but don't seem to have a plan for DC. Chapek Thanos starting to make the purge. Put it has way more to do, but it has way more to do. Okay. Yes. As far as the DC thing, that seems to be the place Zaslav's having the biggest trouble. And that could be one of those situations where a lot of people are just looking at it like, I don't want to deal with that fucking mess. Right? Like, that's probably part of it. And especially with all this Ezra Miller, Amber Heard shit going on. Like, that's the last fucking pond I'd want to stick my toe into. As far as the rest of it, though, goes, it seems like Zaslav has a bit more control over things at Warner Brothers. But until he gets DC in order, that has yet to be seen. As far as Chapek over at Disney, I think he's starting to learn how to play the game. Because this is something that Andre and I and Script and Cameron and others have talked about before. I know Valiant Renegade's been doing some killer work on this stuff too. And that is, if Chapek wants to stay alive in this business, he has to learn how to be cutthroat and play the Game of Thrones.
So what do we know about Chapek? Is he a competent person?
Well, he comes up from the parks. He's not really from the entertainment side.
Right. He's in the parks. Right.
So when he first come in, he got a lot of resistance because his first order of business was to cut out the middlemen. And that was, he wanted all the creatives to report to parts of the business that would, like, they'd have to answer for things, right? Like the toy department and the distribution department. So they'd have to answer for why things weren't making money or weren't selling toys, as opposed to having all that padding between them and Iger they had back in the day. Chapek was more plugged in directly. So they didn't like that, what they could considered micromanaging, right? And he also pushed this idea that we need to get away from politics. They definitely didn't like that idea. And by they, I mean the little political monkeys inside the building. And so they started this little coup to get him ousted, because they didn't like working under him. And it sounds like that this guy was one of the guys who was one of the main ringleaders. Another one we know about is like Pablo Hidalgo, for instance. He's one who pushes a lot of things in Lucasfilm. We had a situation where Lasseter was basically Me Too'd out the building a couple of years back by some of these people for giving people hugs, no less, right? Like, I don't know if you know anything about that situation, but he totally got fucked over. And it goes to show, because a lot of those animators now have left Disney and are working for him over at, I think it's, where's he at? I think it's Skydance or something like that, I think.
Yeah,
but
Skydance, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so like that's going to, we're start seeing what he's going to be able to produce over there pretty soon. So it'd be kind of funny if they start making movies that are better than Disney has out there. But yeah, that's where Chapek's kind of at here with the situation. He comes up from the parks, so he's just starting to learn the politics. And he has started to, it's seemingly, from what we can tell, he's starting to learn how to use the media to his side as well. Because that was something he was getting killed with, right? Like the media was painting him as a very bad leader. And
I think part of the media allowed him to not be able to do his job, and Iger to still retain a little bit more authority.
I agree. And Iger, I think, still had his fingers in the pie for way too long, because that's the thing we have to remember. Even though this guy's been in this role for 3 years, he's had to deal with Iger breathing down his neck for the last 2 of that. This is now when he's finally had some autonomy, or whatever you want to call it, some power to actually wield. And here's the thing with these companies, and I'm sure, Paul, you know what I'm saying is, and I'm sure Script will get the analogy here, is they are a lot like the mafia, right? You can't just kill an executive or fire them in this case without getting the okay from the higher ups. And what this was Chapek was allowed to fire this guy. He's got the confidence of the board.
Yeah, well, the president works at the behest of the board. That's, people don't realize that, except for people like Stephen Jobs. There's very few people with that kind of power that can circumvent the board. The board runs a company, and then the president just executes what their orders are.
Because to this point, he's had zero control. But for him to get this okay from the board, that's a big deal. So that shows they have some confidence in him and in the way he wants to move forward. And this Florida deal was a big fuck up.
Oh,
a big fuck up. He's got to try and re-steer the ship. He's got less than a year to get himself back on course in this situation. So Zaslav is definitely winning at this point, but he's got to get DC under control. They've got to get something going over there that's big. And that's where Zaslav is trying to say with, like, these movies should be paying for everything else. And he's right. They should be able to put out 2 or 3 DC movies a year, and they should be able to pay for everything else in the studio.
The news organs, entertainment news organs, are so woke infested. I was just reading something on, Star Wars, how fabulous the new Obi-Wan show is, and I'm going, oh my god, this is all placed advertising or free lunches or something like that. And there's nothing that shows the bankruptcy of the entertainment communication, interconnected communication systems. And I'm not mentioning this to be positive or negative, so don't get me wrong, is the guy who did this documentary for Daily Wire on
Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh on What is a Woman. Okay, independent of what you think of that product, it looks slick and properly done, and I'm no fan of Matt Walsh. Not a single accredited reviewer would look at the film, and many sent him back nasty remarks, personal remarks. So you don't have to like the guy, but it's a litmus test to just how bad the news services are. So if you're a proper reviewer, you would watch the movie and you would then comment on it based on its merits. And I would have bet you anything Siskel and Ebert would have watched it.
Oh yeah.
But no one now. I mean, so that shows you just how compromised.
Oh, they definitely would have watched it. I guarantee you they would have watched it.
Yeah. So again, I'm not commenting.
They might even if it would have been unpopular, they might even have gotten behind it if they liked it. That's the thing. And they would have brought up the fact that it wasn't getting any recognition or whatever.
We are in such deep shit across so many aspects of the entertainment business right now.
Because I do watch Siskel and Ebert repeats on YouTube all the time. And there was a very conservative leaning documentary they were talking about at one point, and I believe they would have reacted the same way to this. I really do.
Yeah, so I'm interested in this Matt Walsh thing only because of the reaction to it, not the movie itself.
And that's the thing. Usually, the only times that I really feel like the two had a really horrible take was on their horror movie take. Outside of that, 9 times out of 10, they were almost spot on a lot of things. I didn't agree with all their reviews, but they were at least, like, they were good at calling out and things, saying, like, this is not getting enough attention. We should have gave this more attention at the time.
Right.
This is something we need to avoid. This is becoming a problem. They were like the, I don't want to use the arbiters because that's not what they were, but they definitely had their fingers on the pulse of what was going on.
And no one has their finger on the pulse now.
No, not like them.
One of the most enjoyable things about them is that at one moment, one guy could like a film and say it was the best film that year, and the other one could say it was total trash. So that was another thing that I enjoyed about them tremendously.
Oh, absolutely. I love their
Hollywood
arguments.
is a real copycat place. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of blowjobs going on. And if these two gentlemen infect the rest of Hollywood with a de-wokification, they'll fall in line. It'll happen. Because they're it's a copycat environment.
You're right, because these two are the biggest companies really in the eyes of the industry as well. I mean, even though Universal's kind of a big player in this too, but they're kind of a quiet monster in that respect.
Yeah, it's a very simple formula in Hollywood. Everyone wants you to fail, but they want to be with you when you win.
And I know people are bringing up Chapek. That's the thing, he was not too popular on the Park side.
He wasn't. Okay.
But Andre and I have made this point before. Much like how Tom Rothman was one of the worst heads of studios for years, he was exactly what Sony needed. I think at this point, we've reached a point with how bad things are at Disney. Chapek may have been bad for the park side of things, but as long as he could execute his plan, he may be exactly what Disney needs right now. Now, it may not be the same story 5 years from now, but it all depends on if he's able to do what he's wanting to do, and that is put profit and what fans want above all else. And that means getting away from the politics and all that kind of stuff. And another thing I guess this Price guy was a big part of is he was behind that Reimagine Tomorrow stuff too. I don't know if you are aware of what that shit was, but it was this big diversity program they had. And there's videos out there you can see on it that have been leaked out of how wackadoo these people are. And this is stuff that didn't help them after the Don't Say Gay situation. Because you literally have people in these videos saying they're, in so many words, grooming kids and stuff. It's crazy. Like, it's
and just going back to the parks, the Star Wars hotel was a failure. So did Chapek have anything to do with that?
I don't know on that part.
The Galaxy Cruise?
Yeah, I think that was more of between
Kathleen Kennedy.
I think she had a lot more sway over that than anybody, because she was the one supposedly who switched the original plan from original trilogy and prequel trilogy stuff over to new stuff on the other side of things. So as far as the Galactic Cruise thing, I think that was an offshoot of that, because I'm sure that had to be in the planning stages before that. But it sounds like you may know something about its script or not. But
it still boggles the mind that the head of a production company would be allowed to walk over to the parks department and be able to dictate what the parks are going to do. Because one of the things that I know, especially on Disney side of thing, is that there's a big wall of separation between what the studio side of Disney does and what the parks do. Like the parks, the head of Disney usually says, I want you to make a theme park section of Disney World to look like this great hit movie. And that's about all the orders they get. And then they pitch the ideas. Then the head of Disney says yes, no, whatever, along with the board of the parks and what they'll agree to it. It would be strange. It'd be like, I mean, it's unheard of for the president of a subsidiary technically of Disney to come in and dictate the direction of what Disney's brand is going to be. I mean, she had a great argument, which is that, yes, there are definitely more Star Wars stories ahead than there are behind. But the counter argument to that is, well, then we should be building off those stories. So let's do the trilogy park and then open up a section that's going to be the future of that park, because you know you want the dollars that you know are there to come in, and you don't do that by providing a foreign in-name only product essentially. Like you gotta build that way to it.
Yeah, which is the reason I didn't go to the Raiders of the Lost Ark show at Disney, because I was waiting for the future version of the thing.
Exactly. I remember when I think Universal Studios had a Raiders show that was
Disney did too for a while.
Disney
If
did.
not,
And
they did.
I only saw this stuff like in 1992, where we did the Epcot Center, and then we went to a whole bunch of other parks around, and there was like a life-size or close to life-size version of the AT-AT Walker somewhere down there, and I don't think that was at Disney. That was at
I remember that. But
Yeah.
the Raiders,
Are you sure it wasn't Star Tours at that time?
The plane,
Star Tours
you know, the Nazi plane rotating around, ready to chop off the head of what's his fungus.
They did the three Indiana Jones shows. They did the fight at the plane. They did the giant the opening act with the giant boulder.
Right.
They did the another one which I can't remember. But I remember
Lots of
It
flames.
was outside.
shooting.
It was in an outside area.
It was fantastic.
it was brilliant. Yeah,
And it was packed all the time whenever I went there. It was a great show. So, yeah, it's simple to do. If you just
the thing is, you bring them in with the familiar, and then you present a little bit of the new. Like that's the formula of a television series. It's like, okay, you get your pilot, which is your risk, as you stated for, which definitely is the risk, and then you have the next episode, which hopefully people come back, and it's like, okay, what can we show them that's newer than the previous episode?
Right.
And on the sitcom side of things, it's basically just you're falling in love with the characters, and you're falling in love with them because of the new situations they are in.
Right.
And it doesn't matter that the next episode takes place directly after it. It's not about what they just experienced. It's about who they are. And that's kind of like this was the secret formula to good writing of in those times. It's like, listen, it was before the day of on-demand television, meaning that a person could miss an episode and still not miss a beat, and that was really important to the success of a show. Whereas today, it's all about the longer form, and it's like you have to watch every episode. It's kind of like a manipulative tactic from the execs, in my opinion. It's like we want to make sure they can't miss an episode because it creates more value for the episode as opposed to focusing on let's just make sure that we can grow our audience.
We can blame Babylon 5.
We probably could, yeah. That was one of the first. That was a very good serialized show. Terrible opening credits, but very good at everything else.
Speaking of Babylon, I must babble on.
Okay.
And continue these super chats. Because unfortunately we're
3:00. We should shut this part.
Because we're close. Yeah, we're closing in on the 3-hour mark here. Thomas Plummer says, for me, Dominion felt the most hollow of the 6. Oh boy. I'd much rather rewatch Top Gun Maverick than any of the new Jurassic trilogy. Well, that's not a fair comparison from what it sounds like from the reviews. Like I said, as long as it's better than the fucking last one, like, that's all I want out of it. Mecha J says, do you think the backlash to Motu Revelations, Netflix will do a lot of promotion to let the fans know this new show will stay true to the OG He-Man? Well, if that's the case, then maybe. But other than that,
resurrection story.
Yeah. I'm curious to see where it's going to go first before I judge it on that respect. But yeah, I seen for our arms head shake. They're like, nah, don't get your hopes up.
I don't think so, because they if they're going to be focusing on Skeletor, from what you mentioned earlier, it's going to be picking up from the last story, right, Tom? That's
what I read. Is it? Yeah, it will pick up those storylines. Plus, it'll supposedly focus a bit more on Skeletor. And we don't know in which respect yet. So. And if they go with that prequel comic story, it's horrible, which Andre had talked a little bit about earlier. So yeah, we'll see on that part. And then we got Toxic Man, who is now a new member. Thank you, Toxie. How you doing, buddy? You're still listening. And then we got Norwegian Kryptonian, who says if Henry Cavill's Superman shows up in Black Adam, it will break $1 billion. That ain't happening. It ain't happening. But it would be awesome.
Who saw the trailer to Black Adam?
I did.
I did.
Thoughts?
What's it about?
I don't have no idea.
That's kind of my thoughts
that's
too.
my thought is like, what's it about? It's, I think Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate is inspired as a casting choice, but it's like a trailer should highlight or at least tease you of a conflict and a battle between two perspectives, and I got none of that from this.
Yeah, nothing. And I was completely cold on The Rock. Completely cold.
Yeah.
Didn't get.
I mean,
nothing.
The special effects looked okay. That's about the best I can say about it. What about you, Arun?
I haven't seen the trailer.
Really? Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it, so I'm
you'll have to check it out at some point. No, that's fine.
I'll spoil it for you. Stuff happens.
Stuff does happen. He's right. A lot of stuff happens.
That's also the brief summary of the history of Earth. Stuff happens.
Yes.
We did the brief history of the Earth.
What I can say is that I heard something about them saying that they were saying Cavill was getting older, and I said I don't care how old Cavill gets. I want to see him as Superman every single day of his life. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
So
he saved the second season of The Witcher.
So what you're referring to, Arun, was actually an article that came out, and that was just something that was posited in the article. That they going off of the idea that it has been well known that Zaslav thinks Superman's important and they need to get him back on track. And they had said something about, if they sign Cavill now, he's getting a little older, so they may be looking at somebody else. This is just them putting ideas out there. From what I've heard, and again, this is just from what I've heard, they're willing to make a deal with Cavill. So that's just a big hope kind of situation here. And there has been a lot of signs to show that the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman is probably dead, aka the J.J. Abrams Black Superman movie. So they know Cavill is popular. but he's also tied up with a lot of
supposed to be
things.
JJ's supposed to be kicked out of Zaslav land.
It sounds a lot like that, yeah.
What's really funny is that over the last week, people within his sphere have been sharing his old Speed Racer script that he wrote in the mid-90s, because there's rumors that he's trying to turn that into a miniseries for HBO Max. That's like his.
Actually, I think he's doing that over at Apple right now.
Yeah, I hear it's on Apple.
Yeah.
So Apple's the one that ended up buying the pitch. Good for them.
Well, Warner got a little bit of money from Apple then, I guess, because don't they own that property?
Warner owns the rights for it, so they'll be getting some cash from that. So that might be the deal.
I think they also get a little bit of the Godzilla money too. Not a lot of it, but I'm sure they get a little bit of it.
But gentlemen, is this comment by Norwegian Kryptonian? Is there any chance that Cavill would show up?
Not unless they shoot it at the last minute. I don't think so. From what we heard, they were not able to work that out because The Rock did push for Cavill to be in the film.
Yeah, of course.
And you're right. Like, you don't put him in this movie and not advertise it, because he should be either the protagonist or the antagonist, depending on how you're putting the movie out there. So at this point, I don't see them bringing Cavill back on a cameo. And they were kind of at a standoff with everything, and that's where he got recasted in the quote-unquote cameo in Shazam, because they couldn't work out things then. And that, I heard that was one of the last times they had talked until recently. So we'll see.
And also, one of the things we heard is that one of David Zaslav's priorities is getting Superman on track. And apparently, the way that he feels doing that is by way of getting Cavill back, meaning there's no current deal. So as we're saying, it's not going to happen until the new deal is in place.
But as I was pointing out, we had heard that they're willing to make a deal now compared to what they were.
That is such, I heard something about that, and I have to admit that definitely has brightened my spirits.
Well, you got to remember, Warner people, inside Warner, some people inside Warner tried to paint Cavill as difficult. And they did this during the negotiations for him to go forward as Superman. And that was another thing that really kind of, I think, put a damper in this. But the beauty of this is, going back to everything before we were saying about Amber and Ezra and all that business, all those people that had everything to do with that are pretty much out the door, aside from Hamada. So that's a plus.
I'm going to watch The Witcher Man.
But that's the thing. The Witcher Man. The bees. Why'd it have to be the bees? Not the bees. No, that's the thing, though. Cavill signed on to The Witcher. I think he just finished or is finishing up shooting Highlander right now. So if that becomes a franchise, The Witcher's already a franchise. They got to get him signed up sooner than later if they're going to get him locked down, because you can't expect him to be doing too much shit in a year, 2 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to work in a Superman movie in the middle of all that.
I agree. And I want the Superman movie to be standalone, like the 2013 film. Not that I don't like other characters, but it would be nice to have a few standalones with him as Superman.
Well, they definitely got to revamp Superman. They can't just go out there and...
Let's see Superman be a Superman and, make little kids... Like, I want to be able to bring... if I had a 5-year-old, I'd like to be able to bring my 5-year-old.
You'd like to bring your nephew or niece to it or whatever, too.
Yeah, I want to bring the little kids to it where they have to cheer. They never cry because they're so enthralled with what's before them. Because, I saw Quest for Peace when I was, 3 in theaters. And it was the happiest moment of my life, because I'd been watching Superman since it's always been on when I was a little kid, along with other great television shows and stuff. But even today, I know it's not a great movie, but I do know that, one of the comments my parents told me as I was getting older is whenever we took you to a film, you were always quiet and watched it and enthralled. And ever since the earlier days, and my dad would remark but when I took you to see Superman, that's the most silent I've known you to be.
That's their way of saying you talk too much script.
I do, yes. I come from a very talkative family, of course I do.
No, but you're right. As bad of a movie as Quest for Peace may have been, Christopher Reeve still played fucking Superman in that movie, period. Because he already knew how to do it. It was just like putting on an old suit. And you need Superman to be Superman. And you're right, going directly to your point. We tried taking, at the time I was dating a woman who had a 7-year-old. And I'm like, oh, Superman, perfect. Take him to a Superman movie. Within 5 minutes, he was crying and wanted to leave because it was too scary for him. Like that whole opening sequence was just too much for him. He didn't like it. So at 7 years old, I'm like, what kind of shit is this? You can't take a 7-year-old to a Superman movie. And then I went back to see it the next day, and I was just depressed myself because I walked out of that going, that isn't a Superman movie. I don't know what the fuck that was, but it wasn't a Superman movie. Mm-hmm. And I know people like it, and it's a good movie about an alien who comes to Earth and destroys half of a fucking city. Sure, but it's not a Superman movie. But anyhow, yeah, you need somebody like Joe Johnston or somebody like that who can come in and lighten up Superman, give us a straightforward Superman story. Sure, you don't have to ignore that anything happened before, but you don't necessarily have to acknowledge it. Just put it in motion. You know, if you want to recast a few people, fine. I have no arguments there. Make it a soft reboot. I'm fine with that too. But it sounds like they're all on board with getting Cavill back in the suit if they can work it out financially. I think they will.
Yay!
That's just me. Don't get too excited, but that's
even
just
I
things
would
I've
be
heard.
happy. As long as he doesn't have a mustache.
Because even though they posited that in that article that he is getting older, which he is, I still think he's got a good 10 years in him to play Superman.
Oh, easily.
That actually is right in line with Stony D's $10 super chat.
There you go.
For that. And he says, Happy Friday. How is Henry Cavill considered too old for more Superman, but we can have a 50-year-old backflick? Total nonsense. Yeah, it is total nonsense.
It is to a point.
Have a great weekend. Cheers to you all. Tom,
but you got to remember. You got to remember, it's been like 5 years since the last time Henry Cavill actually has put on that suit or more.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
And 2013 was when he had to stand alone.
Yeah.
And that was filmed in 2012, so now it's actually
when he was 28.
Since he wore that suit. But still, there's a big difference between that and actually having aged out of the role. He has
two aspects.
10 years left in him as Superman.
He does, but the cast opposite him doesn't. Like, for instance, finding an age-appropriate looking Lois Lane that won't feel creepy, like getting, again, one of the things that people really criticized about, I think unfairly, was that when they were doing Superman 4, they said Margot Kidder looked too old to be a potential love interest for Clark Kent and Superman in that film, and she was only a few years older than Christopher Reeve at that time. Amy Adams is like 8 years older than Henry Cavill. And even though she still looks great, people are going to bring up that same comment. And that's kind of one of the things with regards to aging out is like, if you have a core cast and you want to keep bringing them back, they have to maintain health. Now, luckily, Henry Cavill has the same agent as The Rock, so you know he's going to be juicing with the same chemicals that The Rock has to make sure he maintains a similar form, which is all great and said. But the other part, too, is like, what if Amy Adams doesn't want to do another Man of Steel anymore? And do they want to recast Lois? And if they do, are they going to go for like a mid-20s something?
I hear that Amber Heard is free.
Yeah,
I thought Amy Adams was great in the 2013 film, and I think she would be good now. She still looks good, but you make a good point, and I don't know how people would respond to it, but it would be great to even just have her back for the one film, and then they can change her on the next.
They could get Amber dirt cheap now too.
They could. That's to change your name to Amber Dirt Cheap. I was thrilled with Amy Adams.
Mm-hmm.
She was all right. Okay. It was more the writing to me than anything, but yeah.
You couldn't believe that she was a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist with her very timid, or not timid, very abrasive and lackluster dialogue.
I agree.
There was certain aspects of that, yeah. Like the movie itself is what I have a problem with. It wasn't so much the casting. It wasn't so much that kind of stuff. It was just.
I gotta go, guys.
Oh no! Well, thank you for being here, Paul. We appreciate it.
Bye,
we got a few more super chats to get through, so don't go away, guys. But thank you, Paul. Check out.
I hope I'm.
Let me double check here real quick. While you let everybody know if you got something coming up here, I'll look.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
meanwhile, while you look, Warwolf, so ask for $2. So what projects was he after, Andre? You're referring to Ted Biaselli?
Yeah.
I'm not at liberty to say, but he was after some things that he's has very little hand in.
I think this is the only one I got for Paul.
Okay. Welcome back, Chato. It sounds like a TV show where Professor Paul is teaching theater class.
Welcome back
to a group of misfit actors.
Well, it's kind of what your channel is.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey, that's good. I need I'm a terrible singer. I do have a song coming up where I sing about how I screwed up on Twitter, and I'm afraid of the chat that I let out.
I do have a quasi hit single.
I wouldn't say
do?
New York City, but maybe Second City. He's part of like Second City. Chato comes
Second
back
City.
to Second City to
I was
teach
gonna say,
those
yeah.
up and coming comedians how to tell jokes again.
I did take Second City classes.
I would watch that.
at
But
the-
your
at-
channel is kind of that if you're talking, but if we are the misfit actors, in a way.
We're all misfit actors.
This is
So-
true. But thank you, Paul, for being here. We appreciate your
thanks
time.
for having
and
me. As
do you have
always.
anything coming up you want to plug real quick before you go?
No, not that I'm aware of. I know on Wednesday for sure, this frickin' 1973 fall preview TV guide episode. It's huge. It's authoritative. It's the best one I've ever done. So this Wednesday.
Yes.
It sounds
Can't wait.
amazing.
Be there or be square.
Can't
This
wait.
coming.
That's what I was
coming
hoping
Wednesday.
for.
Paul, what year did Policewoman come out?
Ooh, Policewoman
70s?
was part of the wheel. It was experimented on during the Police Story NBC. So they experimented with this, and
I have the answer here if you can't find
the
it.
New Centurions and a whole bunch of shows. So it would be soon after this. Soon after
It debuted on September 13th, 1974. according to
74.
Google.
So I was right.
Yep.
So Policewoman was initially experimented with on the Police Story wheel on NBC, and then came out on its own in 74. Thank you very much, Tom.
No, thank Google.
No. Don't admit to Google. You just go, it was me. I knew it.
It's research.
Okay. I have no. I didn't even know there was a show called. I know the thing you're talking about because you brought it up, but like
Policewoman. No. That's
Yeah,
right.
I've
It's
never
like
actually
hitting
heard
a
of the show.
really good
Yeah.
shot in snooker. You
Yeah.
just sort of stand back, get the cue, and chalk it up, and then line her up again. Even
Yes,
though you knew it
indeed.
was a complete fluke. Never admit.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Paul.
Bye.
We appreciate
Bye,
your time.
Paul.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye,
Take
James.
care.
Take care, Paul.
Bye, Andre. Bye,
care.
Bye,
Bye.
script.
Bye bye. Mecca J says reject the turd cut. I agree.
Make a change.
I think we can get that trending.
Yeah,
Mr.
very
Tickle
few
Trunks.
want that.
Yeah. Ezra Miller is the rash Warner has to deal with after Zaslav has cured the company. We'll see in the next 2 years how Warner does in better health. Pretty much.
Yeah. I think
At
they're
this
going to
point,
do much better.
At this point, though, they don't really have much of a choice. Mr. Tickle Trunk says chances the Flash movie is released streaming only. I don't think they can afford to do that to it. I really don't. That they're facing too much of a loss that way.
Exactly. So the current movie, exactly as it, has to be theatrical. They would rather put a movie that they know is going to bomb in theaters and get some money of it than just accept the whole loss.
Because there's more to that. If a movie's in the theater, it sells more toys. If a movie's in the theater, it sells more cereal. It sells more this. It sells more.
Yeah.
It sells more videos. There's all kinds of other things. There was even an article recently that talked just about this very thing, as far as like the ancillary parts of. Brian Robbins from Paramount was talking about how that's an important part of the industry, is not just the movie itself, but other parts, right? Like, so it's important to have a movie theatrical. It makes the tide rise for everything around it. Storm King says, if you had a chance to reshoot Aquaman or Flash, which do you choose? I might just scrap the current incarnation of the DCU and start fresh. I'm with you on the latter part, actually.
Like,
But at this point,
yeah,
you're stuck with them because they're done. Yeah.
So yeah, your script real quick. Which one would you choose if you have the option of reshooting Aquaman, reshooting Flash, or scrap everything and start over? Which would you do?
I would scrap everything and start over because it'd be a sign of power and also a sign of threat to everyone underneath me. It'd be like, you don't deliver, you don't put your best foot forward, you're not making it any further. And I have no problem eating the cost because I know I can at least do something with accounting and taxes on that. And on top of it, I know that the next success will definitely start something bigger and better because you have that model on Marvel's side. They had that 10-year stretch with $10 billion on box office on that underneath them, essentially. So it's like I'd rather hedge my bets towards that direction and just abandon a terrible narrative approach that should never have been started in the first place.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I don't know if anybody else has another take on it, but
Definitely start fresh.
Unfortunately, you're stuck with what you have now because you're 5 movies deep into this shit that you have to wait out. So,
and you also brought Michael Keaton into it.
Yeah. And we're just arguing about that in the chat because they're like, is it really going to sell toys? I'm like, maybe not of the Flash, but they are going to sell a fuck ton of Michael Keaton Batman toys.
Yeah, to adult collectors, if nothing else.
Fucking it. Everybody's going to have one of those.
I don't do toys, so I might even get one.
Yeah. Considering how many they put out of the classic ones all the time, like it's like, ugh, I guarantee you they're going to be a buttload of those. They might have them in, because if he even has as many costume changes as they say in the movie, just think of how many variants we're going to have. Like, nobody's going to give a shit about the 5 different Flash toys. They're just going to bypass them and go straight to Batman. So, we got Ironcaster who says, move over Florida, man. Hawaii, they, them is coming. Phrasing. Jesus, phrasing. And then Combat Killer, or Camo Bot Killer, I am so sorry about that, sent in $1.99. Doesn't say anything. I don't know if you just sent in $1.99 without saying anything, or if the Google bots got to you first. But if you did have something to say,
thank you for your support.
Yeah, go ahead and add us, and we'll try and catch that. Stony D said, poor Michael Keaton. He chose the wrong time to jump back in.
Oh my God.
He deserves better. Someone call Jack Nicholson and get the de-aging tech ready. Jack is probably like, you backed the wrong pony and I'm not getting involved.
I have heard rumors that Michael Keaton is absolutely horrified with Ezra.
I gotta imagine after the recent shit
with him.
That was something I already heard before. He's definitely not going to be on the promo tour, but like this is beyond that now, unfortunately. But
yeah, this is a whole different level.
Yeah, Beautiful Bliss says, why did the parents decide to sue him when the girl is at 18 years old and not at 12 years old? I shudder to think why the parents didn't speak up. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying before. Yeah, this sheds a very bad light on Ezra, but as far as the parents go, like it sheds just as bad a light on them, unless this kid ran off.
In the dark
exactly.
Somehow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't know have enough information to go on at this point, but what we do have to go on is enough for us to say, yeah, this is too big of a deal for Warner Brothers to ignore anymore.
Well, basically what we can say is that we do not have enough information to make any kind of assessment on the parents' culpability.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, thank you.
Information to certainly make a judgment call on Ezra's level of culpability, and that ain't a pretty picture.
No. And that's just it. We've gone from, yeah, you can maybe get past him being in the movie and everybody forgetting him choking somebody and throwing some chairs to fuck. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is, you can't, there's no waiting this one out.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't fucking matter anymore. That's just what So anyway, unfortunately, we don't know as much about the parents, and Andre put it more eloquently than I ever could. Norwegian Kryptonian has another one here from Norway, Andre, and says, can they rebrand the movie as a multiverse Batman movie? Maybe. That's kind of what script was getting along the lines of. And you could,
cheap, but it can be done.
I mean,
I think they should retitle the film away from Flash in general. Just
I don't disagree with you.
Just add the point at the end. Flashpoint.
Yeah, that's a good and interesting take on it.
Call it Endpoint.
Flash the pan. That's for sure.
Endpoint would be good enough. This is it, kids. It's the end. No, I'm just kidding. Warachi says, we are forgetting the most pressing question of our age. Moose or squirrel? Well, that is a good question. Which do you choose? Darren Hughes says, welcome back, Chato. It sounds like it. Oh, we got this one. Sorry.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you again, Darren Hughes. Alan Octavian Moldovan says, Studio Trigger is a Japanese studio, and Junji Ito does horror manga and gets an anime show on Netflix in 2023. Sorry, autocorrect screwed me. Although that's fine. I don't no. It's not you, Alan, or the autocorrect. I don't know this stuff. That's my fault. I'm not into the manga, anime stuff at all. I'm just not. So it's not you at all. It's me. And I think Autumn is probably one of the few people even close to some of that stuff on here. And yeah, I doubt she even knows some of this stuff right offhand, or she would have said so. I
I'm
know,
not familiar with
Andre,
this one.
if it's not on the Sega Mega Drive, then that's just a joke. I know anime
You
is
know
on the
what?
Sega Mega Drive.
If it's manga, it doesn't help. If it's on the Sega Mega Drive, I still don't know it.
I know, that was a joke to begin with. And from my knowledge of script, I don't think he's that deep into it either. So
I'm a casual at best anime partake.
yeah, usually you'd speak up if you knew something. So yeah,
I like Gundam Wing.
there you go.
That's about it.
There's a few things I've grazed, Alan, and I'm thinking of getting into it, but not like to the deep getting into it. Like just enough to have a cursory knowledge of some of the more well-known ones. But for those who are anime fans, I'll tell you this much: there seems to be a hell of a sale on anime videos over at Amazon right now. And then we had, I don't know, is this the same one as before, or is this a different one? I don't know if you sent in 2 Camo Bot Killer, but thank you for the support. I think it was a different one. So thank you. I don't know if you're still trying to say something. Yeah, Paul of Dirt. Nice name. Says, I like getting emails from Netflix telling me how long I've been unsubscribed. It's apparently been 148 days since Cuties came out. You sound like a desperate girlfriend, huh?
And after that, you have to check out some membership chat, Tom. We got a request here.
Sure. Joycelyn DeBausch asks if I'm a voice actor. Not technically. I mean, I guess in some way I kind of am now, but I've always wanted to be a voice actor, and I'm for hire. That's for sure. DCV Titan says you guys kind of rag on the title Edge of Tomorrow, but it's a bit better title than the manga. It's based on All You Need Is Kill. That's true too. That is very true. I mean, Edge of Tomorrow is great, I guess, in a sense, but it doesn't really tell you anything about the movie, and it sounds like a Richard Marx song from the 80s or something. Like, I just, that doesn't, or a Bryan Adams song, even worse. We're on the edge of tomorrow. We can see the future light shining bright. Yeah, see? But All You Need Is Kill is a horrible title as well. But Live, Die, Repeat is even worse. Sadly, the movie itself, I don't know what you would tag to the title, but time travel movies have always had this problem with the title. That's one thing.
Well, that's a time loop movie, really, but yeah.
Yeah, regardless, but like, yeah, any movies that have to do with time, they always have this problem with the title. Always get saddled with a shit title. But yeah, Edge of Tomorrow is probably the best of the bunch. Moving on. Sorry about that. Dira says Cassie J, who did the Red Pill doc, was ostracized. She was a feminist. You can see clips on her channel. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we'll check that out. But right now, let's check out some membership chats.
Member chats. We got Max Relass, who's been a member for 14 months at the Midnighter level. Thank you so much for that. We got Hyper Guyver, who says, damn it, Hardison, Black Adam to Hawkman, probably.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, at least we did see Hawkman in that. That was kind of cool. Full Metal Smile has been a member for 6 months at the Edgelord level. It says, retcon Man of Steel in the opening titles with a music montage featuring super feats as a result. John Williams theme, and go from there with lighter, more uplifting soups. Yeah, that could be the first 15 minutes of the movie as far as I'm concerned.
That's like the Incredible Hulk, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. And then Night of Snoke had a question here. Says, how much longer do you see the MCU going for? Because with the lack of Spider-Man, Chris, Captain America, Robert Iron Man, and consistent bait and switch BS, and lack of Marvel names left to debut, I feel all that is left are Daredevil, Punisher, Fantastic Four, X-Men, which fans have seen a lot of them, Silver Surfer, Namor, and maybe Ghost Rider. Well, Spider-Man's not going anywhere.
If they do it correctly, that is plenty. And also, as Tom said, Spider-Man ain't going anywhere. So all they have to do is get what they have right. It only takes like a couple of projects to do that. Just look at Spider-Way, No Way Home. A few hits like that every once in a while, they can keep this going for the indefinite future with what they have.
Absolutely. And then we have Adam Wolford, who says Batman Flashpoint with Beyond Batman 3K. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Batman Beyond's being basically repurposed as Batgirl, but yeah. That's another reason why they have to get this Flash movie out there. We didn't even touch on that. They've already got 2 performances of Michael Keaton in the can as Batman. We have yet to see one. Is that hard to believe?
Yeah.
But, yeah. So we'll see how that rolls. They have to get that out because that reintroduces his version of Batman into this universe. Then we got a member chat from Hillis Mallory, who's been a member for 15 months. Thank you so much for that. It says, Back to the Future is better time travel title. Indeed it is. What was the other one you think we had? Did I miss anything, Andre?
Yeah, in the Midnight Such Modson Squad. Paulie from Latinos Land says Godfather 3.
Okay.
Why he says that, I'm not sure.
I avoided it on purpose because he's trying to start shit.
Oh. Okay. Well, we're rounding out here, so we don't have time for that.
Exactly. Exactly. We don't have time for this debate, Paulie.
Also said retcon Man of Steel in the opening titles with the music montage.
We got that one.
Featuring, okay. Yeah, well, perfect. Then we can move on with the super chats, I think.
I think that's all of them, unless we missed anything.
Perfect.
I think Camelbot Killer had one. It looks like 6 is passing it on to me. Where is it at here? Looks like Doomcock also dropped a video on Rice. Did I say Price earlier? I meant Rice. I keep calling him Price.
I keep wanting to call him Grice.
Grice? I don't know where that comes from.
Well, no, I do. It's like a corrupt.
Yeah, you're right, Paulie. You do suck.
Series.
Oh, we're not avoiding member chats in the very least at all, unless they're Paulie's. All right. Waiting on the one from Camelbot. Other than that, while we're doing that, oh, here it is. Okay, got it. My message was, how is the ones in charge of the movie studios are like Warden of Arkham's Asylum, and the actresses are the residents, either crazy or narcissistic. Love you all. Well, thank you, Camelbot. And yeah, that joke was pointed out last night that I think it was Valiant Renegade who so eloquently pointed out that Ezra Miller is actually the first one in the Batman DC universe, whatever, that actually belongs in Arkham Asylum. So, yeah. It's not a bad assessment.
Well, I don't know, Jared Leto, like throwing
oh, yeah, we brought him up too. Yeah, we brought him up too. We said he has his own island in there.
Yeah.
Warwolf says, Batman Beyond is literally a ripoff of Spider-Man 2099. No lie, Miguel O'Hara. Whoops, excuse me. Predates McGinnis by around 8-10 years. Yes.
It's a ripoff of that and The Mask of Zorro.
Yeah.
Mask of Zorro came out a year before Batman Beyond. And
well, I was going to say,
kids wanted a teenage Batman, so that's what they drew from.
Having a predecessor kind of thing is nothing new in storytelling at all. It actually goes back to the original, or successor. Sorry, thank you. Having a successor goes back to the original idea of the hero's tale, right? Because you always have the old sage who...
You have the mentor who nurtures
the mentor, yeah.
And also, let us not forget the Phantom. Because going back to like the Zorro and stuff like that, of course, Zorro was before, but... the Phantom predates both Batman and Superman, and very, very early on in those series were the inheritance factor, where we are right now on the 21st Phantom, because that's gone from father to son for 400 years.
Yes. And then Hillis Mallory wants to know our quick thoughts on Miss Marvel. I have gleefully ignored it.
Yeah, me too. I haven't seen it. I mean, there are so many other things that I'm trying to catch up on, various Star Trek things, Orville. I only have so much time. I have to prioritize, and it's going to be a while until I get to it.
Did you watch it, Autumn?
I have.
I'm assuming you did. I was waiting for it. Yeah.
I think it's a great show for young adults, especially young
adult
girls will be watching this. They will cherish this show. I think it's going to be very entertaining for them. I don't see men over the age of 40 really watching this and enjoying it, nor do I see women over the age of 40 watching it religiously. But I think that it will be very popular with the teen crowd. And I also think that it's a good show for them. I think there's a lot of values in it that is good for them, and they'll have fun with it.
Oh, I saw it. I say the parents are the parents are the best part. They're trying to do the Spider-Man approach, but they missed the key factor. Hold on. And that is that everybody gives stuff to our main character, and she does not reciprocate at all. And so, and unlike with Peter Parker, where nobody gives anything to him, he doesn't reciprocate. He's just an underdog. So they don't know how to reconcile that. It looks like the arc is going to be that she has to learn to, give back everything that people have been offering to her. Because right now she's spoiled and fun, and she's humorous, but I don't see why people like her yet. I see why everybody else around likes the people around her, because her parents are awesome. Her pseudo boyfriend is a cool guy. But yeah, I hope the story goes to her becoming someone that actually is a giving person as opposed to just receiving, because that's what she was in the pilot. She was just receiving. Everybody was doing everything for her, and she was contributing nothing.
It is true. And she also has to find out what she wants to do with her life, because she hasn't quite decided that. I guess maybe she's a junior in high school.
16, so yeah, midway.
So, I think it's a very interesting time where a lot of kids are trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do with my life? And my parents are expecting me to be a doctor or a lawyer. And, maybe that's not the path that I'm going to take right now with my life. So, I think especially for younger people who watch shows like this, they're going to enjoy this kind of foray. But you are absolutely right about her attitude. She's spoiled girl and very lucky, honestly, to have what she has. So.
Yeah, so I do hope it goes to I do hope at the end of the show she becomes a person that is very reflective of the people around her, because I don't like sponges as a character. So yeah. I hope that's not what she ends up being, because that would be a disservice to her, because she's really a good actor in this.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
and
damn near a glowing review from you, Script.
She doesn't look nearly, and I want to be very careful when I say this, that the trailer for the series, while it did reflect maybe half of what I experienced in the show, she's a little bit more dynamic than what we were presented with in the trailer, and that's okay. There was a lot going on in the show, and there are issues that she has to deal with that I think everybody has to deal with, and I think that's going to make a lot of people relate to her personally with dealing with the outside world versus her culture and trying to figure out whether or not she's going to be strictly pertaining to her culture, or whether she's going to go outside of that and become part of the world in a whole. So.
All right. Well, there you go. Actually, that's kind of some more glowing reviews of sorts than expected to come from
we've
the show.
only had one episode, Tom, so I just want to
be... well, that says a lot for Disney Plus.
I mean, plot-wise, it's simple, and yeah,
that was really good.
And Andre, I don't know if you got my message in the back though, but Camelbot Killer sends in another $1.99. I don't know if it has another question, but go ahead and add us real quick if you did. But in the meantime, we got a few other member chats and super chats to get through.
Back here.
6 sent in a 11-month Crom level subscriber chat and says, to Latino Slant, because he knows that Return of the Jedi, don't even, God damn it, 6. God damn it. You just had to go there, didn't you? We are not getting into this debate today. Horseradish Power, is this an attempt to compete with Stargirl? Man, I don't know about that so much as I see what the reason why I said when Script said the Spider-Man thing is my early prediction was they're going to try and aim this towards this, and that's why I felt like it was being advertised just like Spider-Man the Homecoming trilogy
it's
was.
It's taking something more abstract with Spider-Man, which is he's a kid who's an underdog, and you kind of like him, but he's not spoiled, but he's a little selfish. In this case here, we have a character who is spoiled, selfish, and everybody is doing things for her. And that's the strange attractor. Everybody around her is doing stuff for her, where for Peter Parker, nobody around him was doing anything for him. So
yeah, he didn't nearly have the advantages that she has.
Exactly, yeah.
And
And
Paulie,
then
it
we
sounds
had,
like also gives a review for the show and says it's good. So there you go. And then did you find the Ram Bam 3000 one we missed?
Yes, I did. Rambam, and we should have gotten this earlier. Sorry, we didn't.
Yeah,
Rambam
sorry about that.
3000 says for £5. Chato, they showed Robert Urich in Spencer for Hire in England, and I really enjoyed it, especially Avery Brooks as Hawk.
Yeah.
Sorry we missed. I'm so sorry we missed that earlier, Ram Bam. We try not to, but once in a while they slip through my fingers, and that happens from time
Spencer
to time.
for Hire was a great show.
And Six says that Return of the Jedi is the best movie ever. Well, I'm glad you think it is, Six.
Hi, Six.
Good for you. I'm glad that you enjoy the film.
And with that, I believe we are fully caught up on everything. Then it's I'd just like to say thank you to the panel for joining me today and this week. So thank you, Script Doctor, thank you, Chato, thank you, Culture. Check out all of the mentioned channels. The links are in the description. Anything you want to plug before we bow out?
Just please subscribe to my channel, Positive Fandom, on YouTube and Twitch. And of course, you can find me on my live Sunday brunch show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays, where I do all the parlay in the fandom. And of course, catch me on Toxic Femininity on Monday nights on Midnight's Edge, everybody, as well as the show that I do with Lorena Creel, Toxic Male Appreciation, live on Twitch on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. And thank you, everybody. This was such a great panel, as always.
Yeah. And then Jesus Davila sent us a super sticker of like a little guy blowing a horn or something like that.
No, what it is it's a little lemon guy giving a present to a little, what looks like, I think, a baby pear.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think that's what it is, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you anyway. And Script, anything you want to plug?
No. Not right now. I'm actually waiting to get a phone call, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, with that,
I would like to thank my one fan, Bob.
Yay!
Thank you, Bob, for being here. Appreciate it. Good fan. Thank you guys all for making this show possible. You guys are great. You guys in the chat make it possible. You keep the lights on here. We're so glad to have so many lovely fans and people who check in with us every other day. And most of you check in on us on Meet as well. And thank you so much for that. Appreciate that a lot. And yeah, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. And we will definitely try to do something for the members. If we can't do it this weekend, we'll definitely try early next week. Right, Andre?
Absolutely.
All right. So with that,
it's time for Koalas in the Rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koala, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.